Chapter 445, Killing the Huayun Sect, 2, Fourth Master. If you do that, your strength would be revealed. Although it would be a glorious moment for the clan, this servant worries about the troubles that might fall upon your head. Chang Bai spoke with concern. Chang Bai, this isn't a problem you should worry about. I will take care of everything. Jian Chen spoke calmly without an ounce of worry for himself. Seeing the resolute look on Jian Chen's face, Chang Bai knew that there was no convincing him. To put off his own worries, Chang Bai spoke, Fourth Master, please allow this old man to accompany you then. Shaking his head, Jian Chen replied, Chang Bai, the Huayun sect is something I need to take care of myself. I know my own strength, I alone will be enough. Upon hearing Jian Chen's words, Chang Bai couldn't help but think back to when they were both at the stronghold of the Pingyang Kingdom. With a small smile, he spoke, the Fourth Master is already an expert that can defend himself. If the Fourth Master wishes to go by himself, then this old servant won't meddle anymore. Chang Bai, I will trouble you with my mother and father. I will be back soon. As he spoke about his parents, Jian Chen's eyes couldn't help but soften slightly. The fourth Ladian clan leader will be reassured by me. Fourth Master, head out early and come back early. Jian Chen nodded his head and began to control the world energy to cover his body. With the wind element surrounding him, Jian Chen instantly blew away into the sky in a blur of cyan. In an instant, he disappeared behind the clouds in the sky. Seeing Jian Chen disappear, Chang Bai's face revealed an astonished look. Strange, back at the Pingyang Kingdom's borders, I could have sworn that I saw the Fourth Master using the fire element. Now, he's using the wind element. Could it be that the Fourth Master is able to control both elements? Chang Bai looked back to the boundless sky and let out a drawn-out sigh. Muttering to himself, he said, the Fourth Master has already surpassed all of my expectations. It seems that not after long, the Changyang clan will join the ranks of the strongest clans because of the Fourth Master. AI, who knows when the Master will return? If he knew that the Changyang clan had such an outstanding child, who knows how happy he would be. Afterward, Chang Bai left to look for Changyang Ba and tell him the news. After receiving the information, Changyang Ba's eyebrows scrunched together as he spoke with worry. Chang Bai, will there be any problem with Xiang'er going by himself? Chang Bai shook his head, unlikely. When I first witnessed his strength, 4 of the Heaven Saint Masters from the Pingyang Kingdom and Qianyun from the Qiangan Kingdom had been unable to even touch the Fourth Master. The Huayun sect stands no chance. Then who knows how Xiang'er will decide on how to deal with the Huayun sect? If what you say is true, Xiang'er already possesses the strength to easily destroy the entire Huayun sect. Many years ago, the fact that the Huayun sect had forced Xiang'er to flee his home surely must have left a deep grudge within his heart. Do you think Xiang'er will act upon such a drastic action and destroy the Huayun sect? Changyang Ba's eyebrows scrunched together in concern. Hearing this, Chang Bai was stunned for a moment before growing shocked. Alas! I hadn't thought of such a thing at that moment. With the Fourth Master's strength, he could truly destroy the Huayun sect. With the war our kingdom has just experienced, our kingdom lacks power. We even lost 3 Heaven Saint Masters from the battle, depleting our forces by a large amount. If the Huayun sect were to be destroyed by the Fourth Master, our kingdom will fall into a period of weakness that would take 100 years to recover from. You speak correctly. If Xiang'er truly kills off every expert from the Huayun sect, there won't be anything left to do. Our Jessan kingdom has already lost too many Heaven Saint Masters. Changyang Ba had a serious look to his face. Whether the Jessan kingdom would be able to recover or not depended on the support of Heaven Saint Masters. They were the symbols of strength for a kingdom. Losing them would bring about a giant loss for the entire kingdom. Furthermore, the patriarch of the Huayun sect was the minister of the Jessan kingdom. With such an achievement, his status was extremely high. If the Changyang clan were to destroy the Huayun sect, then it would not be an easily forgivable act. 1,000 meters in the air, Jian Chen flew in between the clouds, allowing them to hide his body from below. This time, He was not carrying the tiger cub and had fed it yesterday night with several heavenly resources, causing it to sleep. With the current digestion rate of the tiger cub, it would take 2 or 3 days before it would wake up again. The Huayun sect was about 4,000 kilometers away from Lor City and resided upon the most famous mountain in Jessan Kingdom, Tianhua Mountains. The Huayun sect held a decisive amount of power within the Jessan Kingdom and was the strongest aside from the imperial family. Now that they had a new Heaven Saint Master, the Huayun sect was now the uncontested power within the Jessan Kingdom and could even control the imperial family. The Huayun sect had resided within the Jessan Kingdom for hundreds of years, back when the kingdom had just barely been established alongside the Changyang clan. At that time, the founding patriarch of the Huayun sect, the patriarch of the Changyang clan, and the very first headmaster of Kargath Academy had been called the ministers of the Jessan Kingdom. After over 4 hours of flying, Jianchen finally arrived at Tianhua Mountains before walking the rest of the way there. The Huayun sect that were walking on horseback had only just arrived back home, therefore everyone was rushing to bring their items from the horses back inside the monastery. Right in front of the gates were a dozen soldiers standing guard. They were clearly the ones responsible for the gates. With his head held high, Jianchen strode for the mountain gates of the Huayun sect. Just as he reached a 30 meters distance, 2 of the disciples instantly blocked his path and spoke arrogantly. "Who are you and what is your purpose with the Huayun sect?" Sia's advancement into the Heaven Saint Master realm had already made news around the sect. This meant the Huayun sect now had 3 Heaven Saint Masters, making them the strongest faction of power within the entire Jessan Kingdom. With such a title, the normal disciples of the Huayun sect felt utterly prideful, looking down on almost everyone. Jianchen's eyes suddenly turned cold as he swiped at the sky. All of the energy in the world suddenly began to gather in front of Jianchen's palm before he pushed it forward, pushing the world energy toward the disciples standing guard. As soon as the disciples were blown away, the door they had been protecting suddenly pushed apart from the world energy, allowing Jianchen entry. Chapter 446, Killing the Huayun Sect, 3. The sudden bang that accompanied the door's opening startled all of the nearby disciples. Many of them threw down their items and quickly ran to gather at the gates. Jianchen strode past the collapsed gates and continued to walk deep within the sect without any signs of stopping. Swiping with both hands, the world energy continued to gather around his hands before quickly forming 2 giant blades of fire that flew toward the nearest hallway. Bang! A loud echo could be heard as the flames licked at the halls, collapsing the entire structure before being charred black. The Huayun sect was built using granite, a flame-resistant material. Thus, it would not burn too easily. Originally, Jianchen planned on destroying the Huayun sect like the Yangji sect, but the granite buildings forced him to give up on that idea. This type of development frightened the entire Huayun sect. The flames that filled the sky was extremely dazzling and reflected red upon the entire place, attracting everyone's attention. Many more disciples from the sect began to gather along with the higher echelons of the sect who leaped over roofs to arrive. Not too long after, 200 uniformed men gathered near the gates, surrounding Jianchen completely. "Youngster, who are you? Did you wish to die by attacking our Huayun sect? To dare harm our Huayun sect like this, our sect will not forgive you for this." The 200 disciples began to curse at Jianchen angrily with eyes that could shoot fire. Jianchen had destroyed their gates, an act similar to slapping the face of the entire Huayun sect. This to the disciples was far more than enough to warrant their killing intent. Right now the Huayun sect had 3 Heaven Saint Master experts. Within the Jessan Kingdom, this was an unmatched power. 3 Heaven Saint Masters was an honor that made even the regular disciples of the sect feel extremely proud. Which caused their eyes to shine brightly and they had begun to look down on everyone. "Second teacher has arrived, let him through." Suddenly, a large voice called out, causing the entire group of disciples to suddenly split into 2 to form a road. A middle-aged man wearing an embroidered robe came striding forward proudly as a light from his eyes like the shine of a sword as he stared at Jianchen. "Sire, who are you and what reason have you to attack our Huayun sect?" "Without a good reason, then no matter who you are, do not expect to leave this place after today." The man spoke. Hearing this, Jian Chen's eyes grow colder as he spoke. The Huayun sect has gotten even more arrogant than I thought. It doesn't matter who I am to you, even if I were the prince of the kingdom, you would have me locked up here. The middle-aged man's face twisted with fury, impudence. Spare me of your glib. I have seen both royal princes of the imperial family. Who are you? Speak your identity or else do not blame our Huayun sect for being impolite. Impolite? I wanted to see just how impolite you could get. Let me see if you can act on your own words. Jian Chen laughed as the killing intent in his eyes skyrocketed. The middle-aged man could only sneer. There were 3 heaven saint masters within the Huayun sect, making them rise higher in the hierarchy of the Jessen kingdom. No one could match their might, so they refused to place the youth in front of them as anyone important. With a wave of his hand, the man spoke, "Arrest him. If he resists, then do not hold back." Yes. The man obviously held some sort of authority, since every single disciple let out a yell of approval. A dozen disciples had already formed their saint weapons to charge at him and fight. Jian Chen slowly folded his hands across his chest and stood there without moving a muscle. When the disciples had gotten within a 10-meter range, the sand on the ground immediately floated into the air. Carrying an azure and violet light to them, they instantly scattered in every direction. Ah! Straight away, the sounds of pain could be heard as the previously high and mighty disciples of the Huayun sect fell to the ground one by one in pain. Their bodies had been shot through with several holes perforating their entire body. Blood continued to flow down their bodies, dyeing their uniforms red. Some had been severely injured, some had not, and some had been so injured that they died on the spot. The one called the second teacher immediately grew shocked as he looked at the 21-year-old youth in front of him. At this moment, he no longer dared belittle the youth. "Who are you?" The man spoke with some lingering fear in his voice. "What is going on?" At that moment, a deep voice could be heard from behind as the Huayun sect's patriarch Qing Fei came walking out. Right behind him was another group of disciples. "I pay my respects to the patriarch." The man immediately bowed to the patriarch before explaining, "Patriarch, this youth right here is of unknown origin. He came to attack our Huayun sect with no reason and even destroyed our gates and halls. He also injured several disciples." Seeing the destroyed mountain gates, Qing Fei's face had a dark look to it. The Huayun sect still had some pent-up anger from the Changyang clan yesterday and had returned to the sect with resentment. For today, to have someone causing trouble and destroying the gates, this was simply another thrashing to the Huayun sect's honor. "Who are you and for what reason are you causing trouble at my Huayun sect?" Qing Fei spoke, his eyes gleaming dangerously. "Patriarch of the Huayun sect, have you forgotten me after all these years? Just yesterday, you came to my home and tried to bully me once more." Jian Chen's biting cold eyes stared at Qing Fei. Qing Fei was stunned for a moment before the spark in his eyes reignited. "Are you Changyang Shangtian?" "Correct, that is me." "Patriarch Qing, did you still wish to capture and bring me back to your Huayun sect?" "Right now, I, Changyang Shangtian, have taken the initiative to come to your sect. How exactly will you deal with me now? Those years ago, you forced me to leave my home, but today, I will settle the debt here and now." Each and every word Jian Chen spoke carried his fierce anger. Qing Fei had some doubt as he looked at Jian Chen and then right behind him. Then, with a serious expression, he exclaimed, "Senior Chang Wuji, since you've come, you should show yourself." Jian Chen's lips curled up into a cold smile. "There's no need to shout. I came by myself without Chang Bai." Hearing this, Qing Fei had a look of joy to his eyes and all the worry in his heart evaporated. "Changyang Shangtian, if you were to stay within the Changyang manor, our Huayun sect would truly have no way to deal with you. Now that you've taken the initiative to come out to seek us, we cannot help ourselves to the prize then. Humph, your tongue doesn't seem to fear pulling a muscle from overuse. It is unclear which one of us today will die." Jian Chen spoke in disdain. Qing Fei had a cruel smile on his face as he looked around the ruined gates and halls. With a pejorative voice, he spoke, "Changyang Shangtian, do not mistake that your experience these past years will help you here. 6 years have gone by, today, I will settle the hatred from when you cut off the arm of my son." Ching Fei moved back and spoke, "Forward, but don't kill him." The strongest 10 around Ching Fei instantly took out their saint weapons and disappeared in a blur as they streaked toward Jian Chen. Each one of them were Earth Saint Masters. Although they were Earth Saint Masters, they each could tell from the fact that Jian Chen had wreaked havoc on their gates and halls that he was at the very least an Earth Saint Master. Not daring to belittle him, they all began to go all out. Jian Chen's eyes flashed with a fierce killing intent as the azure and violet sword chi shot out from his fingers. In an instant, several rays flew out toward the incoming Earth Saint Masters. The Earth Saint Masters from the Huayun sect didn't dare to overlook the attack and waved their saint weapons to defend themselves against the blow. With a sharp cracking sound, the sword chi disappeared, causing the attackers to come to a grinding halt. In the next moment, they fell back 3 steps before stabilizing themselves. Although the azure and violet sword chi was barely the width of a finger, the energy it contained was far more than what the Earth Saint Masters could manage. Every single expert of the Huayun sect was greatly shocked, and before they could even calm down and stabilize their footing, another ray of azure and violet sword chi came streaking through the air. Several of the experts hurriedly put up their saint weapons, but 3 of them had been far too late. The sword chi pierced the space between their eyebrows and instantly killed them. As they fell to the ground, their eyes remained wide open in death. Seeing such a spectacle, the elder who was originally watching in amusement instantly grew shocked. "Assist them!" he cried to the ones who had first charged at Jian Chen. The remaining fighters who had been watching with their arms crossed pulled out their saint weapons as well and followed the elder to charge at Jian Chen. The patriarch Ching Fei revealed a thunderstruck look as he glared at Jian Chen. "How is this possible? Changyang Shangtian is only 21 years old, how could he suddenly become this strong? Even if he is a genius among geniuses, breaking through to the Earth Saint Master realm is far too miraculous. This isn't a strength he should be wielding." Chapter 447, 2 Choices. After the shock subsided, the patriarch of the Huayun sect grew a little dark in the face as his eyes flashed indefinitely. Chang Wuji from the Changyang clan had already placed an incredible amount of pressure on the Huayun sect. Not only were they still pressured even after having 3 Heaven Saint Masters, but now they had some sort of talented child. This situation couldn't help but make Ching Fei feel concerned. Changyang Shangtian is 21 years old today, but he has the strength of an Earth Saint Master at the peak of breaking through it seems. If a person like this grows up, our Huayun sect would be crushed underneath the feet of the Changyang clan. Ching Fei thought to himself with a fierce expression. Immediately taking out a jade of the motherly twins from his space ring, Ching Fei crushed it, notifying the Grand Elder hidden within the mountain. Within the deep belly of the mountain behind the Huayun sect, 3 Heaven Saint Masters were gathered there. 2 of the Grand Elders were taking turn imparting their knowledge to the newly broken through Saya. Suddenly, one of the Grand Elders pulled out a small jade piece only for him to see it suddenly split in 2. Seeing the jade break apart, the other Grand Elder and Saya both grew extremely serious. They knew what it meant when jade stone broke. It seems that something is happening within the Huayun sect. Stay here and continue to teach Saya, I'll go see what has happened. The Grand Elder spoke. The other Grand Elder stood up from his stool. I'm sure that something important has happened. Otherwise, Ching Fei would not have broken the jade of the motherly twins. Why don't the 3 of us go over to see what has happened? Afterward, the 3 Heaven Saint Masters left the mountains and flew toward the sect. Right at the front gates, several loud echoes could be heard as another dozen Earth Saint Masters were sent flying. They flew away from Jian Chen, blood spurting from their mouths. Slamming into the nearby buildings, they flew through the walls, creating holes. Are you truly Changyang Shangtian? The patriarch of the Huayun sect looked at Jian Chen with a pale face. His heart couldn't bear to accept the sight right in front of him. Dozens of Earth Saint Masters had been defeated by Changyang Shangtian's hands, making Ching Fei feel as if the power he had just witnessed was actually a figment of his imagination. He simply couldn't believe it, and began to doubt the identity of the person in front of him. Was he truly the same Changyang Shangtian who had almost the same strength as his Qing Mingxiang years ago? With stones crumbling around them, the dozen men who had been knocked straight through the buildings stood back up with pale faces. Standing by Ching Fei's side, the Earth Saint Masters all looked at Jian Chen with surprised looks. They were just as shocked as Ching Fei was at his strength. Patriarch Cheng, Changyang Shangtian, stand here today. Show me what power your Huayun sect has here today, show me what you can do. Jian Chen spoke. Changyang Shangtian, you savage. Our Huayun sect isn't a place where you can behave atrociously. Wait until the Grand Elder comes, we'll see then if you'll be able to move as you please then. An Earth Saint Master by Ching Fei's side spoke. Just as he finished speaking, 3 large, powerful auras came flying by from behind the Huayun sect. 3 white-robed men quickly appeared in sight before slowly descending toward the Huayun sect. Seeing the 3 Heaven Saint Masters, every single disciple immediately knelt down and cried out, "We pay our respects to the Grand Elders." The layered voices of the disciples was extremely loud and could be heard throughout the Tianhua Mountains. Who are you? Saya's eyes stared dangerously at Jian Chen with an equally dangerous expression, ignoring the disciples. The other 2 Grand Elders didn't speak a word and instead looked around at the destroyed buildings of the nearby area. With each scene of destruction, their expressions turned more serious. The both of them had been Heaven Saint Masters for a very long time, and they could tell that the energy used in these attacks had been comprised of the fire element. Being able to control the world energy was a magical feat that only a Heaven Saint Master was capable of doing. Honored Grand Elders and Master, he is the one that cut off the arm of my son, Changyang Shangtian. The Patriarch Ching Fei spoke with gnashed teeth. Now that the 3 Heaven Saint Masters were here, he was filled with confidence and no longer feared Jian Chen. Upon Ching Fei's words, the 3 Heaven Saint Masters' eyes lit up with a bright gleam as they looked at Jian Chen. Saya immediately lost his calm. Changyang Shangtian, you have guts. The heavens have left you a road that you ignored, so walk the road to hell without anyone barring your path. Since you've come here to our Huayun sect today, don't expect to leave. Saya held a deep hatred for Jian Chen within his heart. It was because of Jian Chen that he had to go against Chang Wuji, who caused him to lose face in front of so many disciples. This had caused him to brood for many hours. Saya, stay your mouth. Another of the Grand Elders suddenly spoke with a strict tone. Saya immediately stopped speaking at the Grand Elder's command. Although the 3 of them were Heaven Saint Masters, the 2 Grand Elders were extremely high in power, and even he did not dare defy the 2. One of the Grand Elders looked at Jian Chen with a complex look before asking for confirmation. Are you truly the 4th Master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Shangtian? Correct, I am Changyang Shangtian. Jian Chen spoke. After this confirmation, the 2 Grand Elders looked at each other in amazement. Following a small moment of hesitation, one of the Grand Elders spoke. Changyang Shangtian, are you here because of yesterday's events? That is just the first reason. The second reason is that your Huayun sect used your power to force me to leave my home. Yesterday's affairs only reinforced my old hatred. Today, I will settle that debt. Jian Chen spoke. Changyang Shangtian, I have heard about the situation from back then. Although it was Qing Mingxiang being too excessive, you shouldn't have cut off his arm. You must understand, he was the next heir to the Huayun sect. Your actions weren't something our Huayun sect could just let happen. One of the Grand Elders spoke with an impassive look. Grand Elder, there's no use speaking words with him. Please teach him a lesson right away so that he will know just how strong our Huayun sect is. Ching Fei looked a little impatient. He had always wanted to take revenge for his son's loss of an arm. Now that the chance was here, he wasn't willing to wait any longer. Silence. The Grand Elder roared at Ching Fei, causing him to shut up immediately. Then, the Grand Elder turned to Jian Chen and spoke seriously. Changyang Shangtian, how do you wish to absolve this matter? Jianchen grew quiet for a moment before speaking. The Huayun sect's minister is someone of great merit to the Jessan kingdom, but I do not wish to leave this debt unsettled either. How about this? I will state two choices. First, I can destroy the Huayun sect and completely expunge the name of the Huayun sect from the Jessan kingdom. Every single disciple looked extremely furious at such a suggestion. Even the Heaven Saint Master Saya grew ashy-faced. Both of his eyes were shooting flames, and if it were not for the Grand Elders, he would have done something way earlier. Even the two Grand Elders' faces became a tad unsightly from his words. Jianchen continued to speak, or second choice. The four of us can have one large battle to decide things. If you are able to beat me, I will forget about this debt and will pursue it no longer. If you lose, however, then I want you two to personally cut off Saya's right arm as punishment for yesterday's ordeal. I also want you to abolish the patriarch from his position. Finally, Saya could take it no longer and roared, "What an intolerant bully! Changyang Xiangtian, you are far too arrogant. What do you take our Huayun sect? Without Chang Wuji here, what can you do?" The patriarch of the sect also felt the words of Jianchen to be a bit too much. Even the disciples all around Jianchen were utterly shocked and looked at Jianchen as if he was an idiot. The two Grand Elders came to a conclusion at the same time and spoke, "If that is what you want, then let us fight. Let us see just how strong the fourth master of the Changyang clan is. Come." With that, the two Grand Elders flew far away from the Huayun sect. The battle would most definitely impact the Huayun sect with all of the energy from the blows if they were to remain here. Jianchen spoke no words and wrapped the wind element in the world around his body. Then, he ascended into the air and shot straight for the two Grand Elders. Seeing this, Saya and everyone else in the Huayun sect were utterly dumbfounded. Cheng Fei's jaw dropped open wide enough for a chicken egg to be put in there. No. This isn't possible. How can he fly? This is something only a Heaven Saint Master is capable of doing. Patriarch Cheng Fei spoke with a shudder to his voice as if there was a sudden chill in the air. He is able to control the wind element. How is that possible? At his age, just how was he able to step into the Heaven Saint Master realm? Saya became stupefied as well. Coming from experience, he knew just how hard stepping into the Heaven Saint Master realm was. It had taken him many hundreds of years of bitter cultivation before he had finally achieved a fruitful result. But now, a youth that was barely over 20 years old was able to do what had taken him hundreds of years to do. This was a mental attack that sent his state of mind into disequilibrium. Chapter 448, Battle at Mount Tianhua, 1. Within the imperial palace of the Jessan kingdom, the heavily dressed king had a faint smile on his face as he spoke with the two men at the table with him. There was an elder and a young male who were both dressed in royal clothing. They also exuded a special aura and had a refined way of speaking. These two men were the Prime Minister and the Prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. As soon as the Jessan Kingdom had finished its war, the two envoys had set off from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom before finally arriving at the Jessan Kingdom's imperial palace to speak to the king. The king was extremely busy at this point. Yesterday afternoon, he had been talking with envoys from the four kingdoms. All of them shared two important topics. The first topic was to figure out what relationship the Qinhuang Kingdom had with Jessan Kingdom and if they could see one of the imperial advisors. The second was about the compensation they owed. The imperial advisors had already left, so the envoys from the four kingdoms were unable to see them. However, from the deliberate leakage of information from the king, they heard something extremely important. The reason why the imperial advisors came to provide assistance to the Jessan Kingdom was because of the order of an imperial protector from the Qinhuang Kingdom. The reveal that there was an imperial protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom involved had utterly shocked the four envoys into breaking out into cold sweat. They themselves were all high-ranking members in their respective kingdom, so they naturally understood what the rank of an imperial protector symbolized. As if intimidated by the imperial protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom, the negotiations went smoothly. Each one of the four kingdoms agreed to pay money and a large amount of monster cores. With just the money alone, the Andreas Kingdom, Blue Wind Kingdom, and the Hidden Dragon Kingdom all agreed to pay a total of 50 million purple coins. With such a large sum, the Jesson Kingdom's empty treasury was quickly recovering. The Pingyang Kingdom was the kingdom to give them the least amount of money, only a single million purple coins. Bursting into tears, the envoy from the Pingyang Kingdom explained to them that a mysterious expert had invaded their treasury and stole everything of value. The 5 kingdoms continued to talk without any additional problems for 2 hours before the king of the Jesson Kingdom gave the order to release the king of the Pingyang Kingdom. Because of the unique position of being the king of the Pingyang Kingdom, he had not been executed yet. Instead, he had been held prisoner within the Northern Stronghold's prison. After the negotiations finished, the king of the Jesson Kingdom didn't pause to take a break. In the next moment, he went to speak with the visiting envoys from the other kingdoms. This led to him being very busy, and with the 2 envoys from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, it was compulsory that he went to greet them personally. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was definitely not a kingdom the Jesson Kingdom could afford to anger. The Prime Minister from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom began to speak with the king of the Jesson Kingdom while the prince sat by the Prime Minister's side without speaking. The Prime Minister spoke in a roundabout way, trying to understand the situation between the Jesson Kingdom and the Qinhuang Kingdom. At the same time, they were trying to find out the reason why the Qinhuang Kingdom would help the Jesson Kingdom against the other 4 kingdoms. The king of the Jesson Kingdom had already devised an answer for such a topic that would put the Jesson Kingdom in the most advantageous position and emphasize the imperial protector's status. Right now the Jesson Kingdom's relationship with the Qinhuang Kingdom was something even he wasn't too familiar with, but he had no desire to anger the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom either. Upon hearing that the Jesson King had an imperial protector helping his kingdom, the Prime Minister and the Prince from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom grew solemn. Speaking several more words to the king, they switched topics to the second task given to the Prime Minister by his own king. Your Royal Highness, I've heard Princess Galan is already 20 years old and is still not yet married. Our Heavenly Eagle Kingdom hopes that our 2 kingdoms will become allies for many generations, so this servant has come here today to propose a marriage. Our kingdom hopes that the Princess Jelan will be wedded to our Heavenly Kingdom's second prince. The Prime Minister spoke with a faint smile. Hearing this, the Jesson Kingdom's king had an embarrassed look on his face. Several years ago, he had engaged Princess Jelan to the 4th master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Shangtian. This was done in hopes that an expert would be linked to the imperial family and also because Kafir had constantly praised him for his talent. If Changyang Shangtian were to die in those years when he was gone, the wedding would naturally be cancelled and the king would find another candidate for the princess' hand in marriage. 2 days ago, he had heard that Changyang Shangtian had returned back home. Since things had progressed like this, he would naturally not break the engagement first and honor it. The Changyang clan of now was far different than the one before. With Chan Wuji revealing his strength, the Changyang clan had risen in power. Even the imperial palace wouldn't dare offend them easily. Most importantly, the king of the Jesson Kingdom couldn't help but be skeptical of the reason why the Qinhuang Kingdom was so willing to help the Jesson Kingdom. He had thought that it was because of the Changyang clan. It was very possible the mysteriously vanished ancestor of the Changyang clan had been responsible for this, so the king of the Jesson Kingdom didn't dare neglect the Changyang clan. After thinking for a moment, the king of the Jesson Kingdom replied, Prime Minister Che, Yuer is my only precious daughter. I cannot so easily discuss this without speaking to her and seeing what she wishes for. That is of no problem, His Majesty is a good father, this official truly admires such a trait. Prime Minister Che didn't rush the decision and smiled. Even the Prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom did not show any dissatisfaction on his face and was extremely calm. After several more words, the 2 envoys from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom left to rest. As soon as they left, the king of the Jesson Kingdom let out a long sigh before closing his eyes and rubbing his temples. Being united with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom through marriage was something that would make the king's heart pound. If they were to do this, the Jesson Kingdom would surely benefit from such a contract and would be vital in the development of the entire kingdom. If there is no connection between the Qinhuang Kingdom and ancestor Changyang, what should I do? Do I anger the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom and honor the marriage with Changyang Shangtian, or do I anger the Changyang clan for the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom? The king muttered to himself. In his position as king, he naturally had to put the kingdom's development first and foremost. Although he loved his daughter dearly, but even he could not move about freely. Although he knew Changyang Xiangtian of the Changyang clan was no ordinary genius, in his heart, he knew that Changyang Xiangtian's growth would take a very long time. At the very least, it would take 10 years, at the very most, it would take well over 100 years. This was a time span that he couldn't wait for. The king of the Jessen kingdom wasn't sure why the Qinhuang kingdom had helped them, but if it was because of some senior having a friendship with the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom, it did not guarantee a second time of assistance. He had to bring his Jessen kingdom onto the more definite path. At the peak of the Tianhua Mountains, the winds blew with an ear-piercing whistle as if demons were screaming. A short distance away from the Huayun sect, the white-robed Jian Chen stood in the sky and faced off against 3 others. It is no wonder you were so arrogant, you were a heaven saint master. Saya spoke with a dark expression of jealousy. Jian Chen ignored Saya completely. Saya had only just entered the Heaven Saint Master realm and so his strength had not yet stabilized. Furthermore, a first-cycle Heaven Saint Master was a very lowly existence to them. Jian Chen paid attention to the 2 Grand Elders. Make your move, but don't say I didn't warn you. If you do not go all out, you will lose very miserably. The 2 Grand Elders weren't angered by his words, but their faces darkened slightly. They were aware of Jian Chen's speed with the wind element and the fact that his control over the world energy was stronger than theirs. Giving a mutual glance to each other, the 2 Grand Elders knew what each other was thinking. Immediately taking out identical-looking saint weapons, they shot 2 rays of sword chi toward Jian Chen. Saya hadn't slacked off in speed either. Forming a great sword in his hands, he quickly flew toward Jian Chen. He had full confidence that with the 2 Grand Elders attacking at the same time, Jian Chen would stand no chance by himself. Jian Chen's hands swiped at the sky, causing all of the fire elements in the world to gather at unbelievable speeds. In an instant, 3 blades made of fire materialized in midair and shot toward the 3. Bang! After a loud explosion, flames began to spread throughout the area and illuminated the skies. The intense energy engulfed the clouds completely. Afterward, the skies cleared up to show a plain blue sight. The 2 sword chi had been broken apart by the blow while Saya had been forced back. However, with the saint force covering his body, it provided a form of protection against the plumes of fire. Jian Chen's body flickered for a moment before flying towards Saya with the help of the wind element. His right hand opened up to form an open palm before collecting all the fire elements to form a giant ball of the element. In a battle like this, you have no right to participate, remove yourself. Jian Chen spoke icily before shooting out with a lightning-fast palm. As soon as the palm drew close to Saya's chest, the energy within the palm exploded abruptly. The energy shattered Saya's defenses and slammed into his chest fiercely. PFCH. Saya spat out a mouthful of blood before turning pale in the face. Losing control of his body, he fell back down to the earth like a kite with its string cut. He was only just a man who had recently become a Heaven Saint Master. His strength was still at its lowest, and even just flying was something unfamiliar to him. So, against Jian Chen, who had a countless amount of experience fighting against other Heaven Saint Masters, Saya stood no chance. Chapter 449, Battle at Mount Tianhua, 2. Seeing how Saya had been defeated, the 2 Grand Elders looked startled for a moment before once more re-evaluating Jian Chen. Who would have known a youth like him would possess a strength that is no less than mine? How inconceivable. Both Grand Elders thought to themselves, but their hands didn't stop moving and quickly brought their saint weapons down toward Jian Chen. Possibly to prevent him from injuring Saya anymore. Jian Chen's eyes burst with an azure and violet glow, causing several trees down below to explode into a storm of splinters that shot upward as if attracted to the 2 Grand Elders. While this was happening, the 2 Grand Elders both looked at it with astonishment before covering their bodies with saint force. At this moment, Saya finally regained control of his body and brought the world energy around him once more, suspending his body in midair. His face grew dark as he looked at Jian Chen, but in his mind, he couldn't help but think to what Jian Chen had said to him. In a battle like this, you have no right to participate, remove yourself. At this very moment, Saya was feeling extremely humiliated. It was clear to see that Jian Chen saw him as an annoyance, and for a person who had just become a high-level expert within the continent, this was a huge blow to the Heaven Saint Master Saya. With just a single blow, he had lost to the hands of a 21-year-old. Changyang Shangtian. As he floated in midair, Saya's face contorted with a venomous look as he spat out Changyang Shangtian's name as if burning the name into his memory. Higher up in the sky, the two Grand Elders didn't dare ignore the countless swarm of splinters. Their saint force surged out in the form of a protective layering over their bodies. This was the only way they would be able to endure and resist the splinters' attacks. As the splinters slammed into the two Grand Elders, their saint force protective layering shuddered for a moment as if they were about to break under the strain. The two Grand Elders grew shocked. The attack of the splinters was far more ferocious than they had thought. Without any more hesitation, the two let out a roar as a surge of saint force exploded from within their bodies and solidified the protections around their bodies even more. Because of this added defense, their barriers solidified, but the consumption to their saint force was extremely taxing. They would not be able to maintain them for long. Advanced Earth Tier Battle Skill, Splendid Flames. One of the two Grand Elders boomed. The fire elements in the world began to form a 2-meter-long sphere of flames that then shot toward Jian Chen. The other Grand Elder took the chance to escape from the barrage of splinters and shouted, "Void Executioner." With that, the Grand Elder's giant sword let out a dazzling ray of yellow light as it swung toward Jian Chen. Jian Chen's hands unfurled from his chest as he began to control the splinters filling the air to form two giant swords. Both swords grew bright with an azure and violet color and were 10 meters long and half a meter in thickness. Swish! Seeing the azure and violet light, the two swords made from tree splinters instantly flew toward the two Grand Elders. Bang! One sword made contact with the ball of flames, creating a loud explosion. The ball of flames ruptured, filling the entire area with its fire and coloring the place red. Even the nearby clouds evaporated from the fire. At the same time, the other sword clashed with the sword of the Grand Elder. The wooden sword from Jian Chen was smashed apart by the Grand Elder's advanced Earth Tier battle skill, but the Grand Elder had been affected since his battle skill was cancelled before it could be fully used. Take on my Void Executioner one more time. The Grand Elder shouted as he used his battle skill once more on Jian Chen. Jian Chen's lips revealed a small smile. If it was a Heaven Tier battle skill, it would have done just a small amount of damage to him, but an Earth Tier battle skill would have no effect on him. Bang! Bang! Another group of trees exploded underneath them before the splinters formed another long sword that shot into the sky. The two sides met head-on, the newly formed sword blocking the Grand Elder's Void Executioner. Having his Earth Tier battle skill blocked by the opponent so easily twice now, the Grand Elder of the Huayun sect couldn't help but lose his cool for a moment. The Void Executioner was the strongest battle skill he had in his repertoire, and if that did not do anything, he had no other options left. Damn it, let's see how many times you can accept my attacks, Void Executioner. The Grand Elder's veins began to bulge with exertion and impatience. For him to be so helpless against a 21-year-old, this was something his honor would not accept. Thus he used his battle skill a third time. Brother, I'll be there in a moment. Seventh Sword Stance of the Flame God. The other Grand Elder's hand held a flaming sword that flew at Jian Chen, creating a pincer attack. It's over. Jian Chen spoke softly as the azure and violet color glows began to fade away. A rich substance of azure and violet sword chi shot out from his right hand as the origin energy of the sword spirits followed after it. The origin energy of the sword spirits left behind a splendid light as it flew through the sky before making contact with the saint weapon of the Elder using the Void Executioner battle skill. Ding! Following the clean breaking sound, the origin energy broke a part off of the saint weapon as if it was tofu. The Grand Elder let out a mouthful of blood before he flew back and looked at Jianchen in shock. At the same time, the other Grand Elder approached Jianchen and prepared to cut him down with the yellow color-infused saint weapon. Brandishing the origin energy of the sword spirits without fear, Jianchen clashed with the other Grand Elder. Straight after the clash, the Grand Elder let out a look of shock as blood slipped out from his mouth before he flew back. "Impossible, how did you damage my saint weapon?" The Grand Elder shouted in complete shock and disbelief. Not willing to let either of the two go, Jianchen allowed the wind elements in the air to speed him toward the two men. With the origin energy, he slashed at one of the two, forcing the Grand Elder to bring up his saint weapon to defend it. Ding! Once again, the Grand Elder's saint weapon gained another jagged edge to it. With the saint weapon taking damage, the Grand Elder took on damage as well, coughing out another 3 mouthfuls of blood and turning deathly pale. After the exchange, the two Grand Elders knew just how terrifying this origin energy Jianchen was. The other Grand Elder immediately knew that Jianchen wasn't going to stop attacking and quickly shouted several words, "Changyang Shangtian, stay your hand." Stopping for a moment, Jianchen wrapped the wind element around his body as he rose into the sky with his handsome figure. The origin energy sword in his right hand continued to swallow up the air around it, making him look like a powerful war god. Jianchen looked to the Grand Elder that had spoken without saying a single word. The Grand Elder with a gap in his saint weapon looked at the other heavily injured Grand Elder and let out a sigh. After a long period of hesitation, he spoke with resignation, "We lose." As he spoke, the Grand Elder looked as if he had aged. His elderly face sagged in depression. The other Grand Elder floated in midair with a stunned look on his face. He didn't even attempt to wipe the blood from his mouth and it spilled onto his clothes as he vacantly stood there. This result was something that no one could have predicted or accept. These two elderly Heaven Saint Masters had fought together and still ended up losing to the younger generation. What was more humiliating was the fact that this youth was still just 21 years old. Age. We have aged. There is no other words to describe it. Changyang Shangtian, you've won. We have lost to your hand. The Grand Elder sighed with a depressed look. Saya flew up from down below with a look of disbelief, knowing that he was in a perilous situation now. Absorbing the origin energy, Jianchen wrapped both hands around his chest. "Fellow Grand Elders, we should take care of our remaining business. After this, we will be able to go home." The two Grand Elders let out long sighs as they nodded. Without another word, they turned to fly toward the Huayun sect grounds. All the disciples back at the sect instantly dropped whatever they were doing and gathered where the four were returning. A chattering sound could be heard as they gathered. The chattering sound instantly died down when the four landed on the ground. The previous commotion from 1,000 people instantly grew silent. When they saw what state the four people were in, every disciple was astonished and their faces filled with disbelief. Among the four, only Jianchen was perfectly fine without looking any different than when he had come to fight. The two Grand Elders and Saya all looked extremely pale with blood flowing from their lips. Both of the Grand Elders looked depressed even, allowing those with a keen eye to figure out just what the conclusion was. At this sight, even the previously confident Cheng Fei grew despondent, unable to believe what he was seeing. Cheng Fei immediately walked toward the two Grand Elders and spoke nervously, "Grand Elders, what was the result?" The Grand Elders' appearances were more than enough for him to guess the answer, but he wasn't willing to believe it. Chapter 450, Startling the Imperial Family. At this sight, even the previously confident Cheng Fei grew despondent, unable to believe what he was seeing. Cheng Fei immediately walked toward the two Grand Elders and spoke nervously, "Grand Elders, what was the result?" The Grand Elders' appearances were more than enough for him to guess the answer, but he wasn't willing to believe it. One of the Grand Elders let out a sigh as he gave a guilty look to Cheng Fei. It was with a depressed look that the elder finally spoke, "Cheng Fei, from today on, you are no longer the patriarch of the Huayun sect. The phrase was spoken with a deathly serious but resigned expression. The Huayun sect was founded a few hundred years ago with a strength that was initially weaker than the royal family. They were able to surpass the royal family in strength with 3 heaven saint masters. However, this spectacle where the present acting patriarch was removed from his position right in front of all the disciples was a mark of utter shame. Such shame would never be washed away from the history of the sect. Ever since the foundation of the Huayun sect, they had weathered many storms and faced many perils. However, such a great wind like this had never battered them to such a miserable extent before. With the reason being a 21-year-old youth, this was something not a single one of the sect could prepare for emotionally. Cheng Fei's face turned extremely pale as his entire body slackened in disbelief. 2 grand elders and Saya, a 3rd heaven saint master, still ended up losing against the 4th master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian. And no, that can't be. Cheng Fei was crestfallen at this unbearable fact. He knew that Changyang Xiangtian was no older than his son, Qingmingxiang, and had only formed his saint weapon a mere 6 years ago at most. In the span of several years, the little saint had been the carp that leaped over the dragon's gate and transformed to become a heaven saint master. Even more shocking, he was able to defeat 3 heaven saint masters by himself without a single scratch. It came to Cheng Fei as such a shock that he started to think that the 3 heaven saint masters were putting on a show for him. Even the other disciples of the Huayun sect were astonished, their mouths dropping wide open. Each one looked on in disbelief as they tried to stomach the result given to them. Ai. One of the grand elders let out a mighty sigh as he grew dejected. His entire body seemed to have aged as he spoke. Changyang Xiangtian, you should be content by now. Our previous debt with you is now wiped. I sincerely hope that the Huayun sect and the Changyang clan will have no further animosity with each other. After such a battle, both grand elders had realized just how strong Jianchen was. This strength of his made them afraid even. Given some time, the 2 grand elders were completely faithful that Jianchen would be able to step into the realm of the saint rulers. Jianchen's arms wrapped across his chest as he stood there with a proud look before staring at the ashen-faced Saya. Grand elders, you seem to have forgotten something. There is still an arm that needs to be taken. The 2 grand elders blanched. Saya was a heaven saint master and thus was another sum of wealth to the Huayun sect. They absolutely didn't wish for anything to happen to Saya, and if his right arm was cut off, Saya's strength would be drastically decreased. As a heaven saint master, even a lowly one, he would never be able to show his true power. Changyang Xiangtian, the Changyang clan and our Huayun sect have been friends since a few hundred years ago. I hope you will forgive us for our mistakes. Although Saya's actions yesterday were not right, it didn't end in disaster. I hope that you will forgive him. A grand elder began to speak with a pleading voice. He and the other grand elder had no wish to fight against Jianchen's strength. Absolutely not. Jianchen's words were resolute without any leverage for negotiations. His eyes had a barely concealed gleam to them as he spoke. You should be rejoicing the fact that nothing too disastrous happened yesterday. Otherwise, the Huayun sect would not be spared by my hand, founding minister or not. I wished for Saya's arm. If you do not cut it off, I will do it myself. If that happens, it will not be gentle, and I won't be able to guarantee that he will remain alive. The 2 grand elders looked troubled at this and fidgeted around for a long time without moving. They were loath to give up one of the strongest figures within the Huayun sect. But against Jianchen, they were equally afraid of angering him and causing their entire sect to be affected by his rage. Suddenly, Saya cried out, "Fine, Changyang Xiangtian, if you want my right arm, I will give it to you." With that, Saya's left hand formed his saint weapon and immediately chopped at his right arm. PCHT. Blood sprinkled through the air as Saya's right arm came dropping down. The intense pain caused Saya's face to contort, but he had been able to restrain himself from shouting out loud. "Changyang Xiangtian, is this enough for you or not?" Saya's eyes were bloodshot as he spoke each word to Jianchen with a venomous amount of hatred. Jianchen let out a cold smile. "Saya, from today on, we have no quarrel. But remember to know your place. If you dare try to act against my Changyang clan in any negative way, you will live to regret it. Be sure that you don't implicate your Huayun sect in such matters. Saya's teeth grit together without a sound as he remained silent. Right now, Saya suddenly realized that this sight was like the one from yesterday. Only, it was he that stood in Jian Chen's place, and all of the disciples around them were the guards of the Changyang clan. If only he had not acted in such a way yesterday, today's events wouldn't have ended like this. Changyang Shangtian, are you satisfied now? One of the grand elders spoke ominously. Jian Chen gave a carefree smile and cupped his hands together. Now that our matters have been resolved, I will be leaving now, farewell. As he finished speaking, another figure cloaked in red immediately came streaking by. In a flash, he landed by Jian Chen's side. This person was wearing a cyan-colored robe and was the housekeeper of the Changyang clan, Chang Wuji. Chang Wuji had been extremely concerned in regards to Jian Chen. So he had quickly rushed from the Changyang clan in hopes that he could prevent anything bad from happening. However, when he saw the scene in front of him, his heart instantly slackened. Despite the Huayun sect looking miserable, they were still living. Uncle Chang, why have you come? Jian Chen asked in confusion, but he still respected him nonetheless. Chang Wuji looked at Jian Chen first to see if there were any wounds. Afterward, he revealed a smile and spoke, "Fourth Master, I had been wondering if the issue had been resolved yet." Jian Chen explained the situation to Chang Wuji for a moment before Chang Wuji let out a sigh. It seems this old servant came out here for nothing. The fourth master has already taken care of things. With that, Chang Wuji looked to the severed right arm of Saya with a look of joy at Saya's pain. The Huayun sect only just received a Heaven Saint Master, causing the disciples to feel extremely proud. But not even a couple days later, the very same Heaven Saint Master came to an abrupt end. This was not only an attack to the Huayun sect, it was an utter disgrace. Jian Chen laughed, "Uncle Chang, if there isn't anything else, let us return home now." Chang Wuji nodded his head as well before cupping his hands to the two grand elder, Tian Qingdao, Tian Qingjian. If you have nothing to do in the future, please drop by the Changyang clan. Farewell. See yourself out. The two grand elders spoke with unsightly faces. Afterward, Jian Chen and Chang Wuji both streaked through the sky, leaving behind the dejected disciples from the Huayun sect. Today's events had left a deep strike through everyone. But the three Heaven Saint Masters who had been very prideful before had felt the strongest blow. The fact that the fourth master of the Changyang clan had been able to cause such trouble at the Huayun sect was not circulated around. However, informers of the imperial family were the first to know about such a matter. By afternoon within the imperial palace of the Jessan kingdom, the prime minister of the Heavenly Eagle kingdom had once more seeked out the king. And once more, he had asked for the two kingdoms to be united through marriage with a respectful plead. The king of the Jessan kingdom was naturally excited to have the two kingdoms united through marriage. The Heavenly Eagle kingdom was in fact, the number one kingdom around. Even during the golden age of the Jessan kingdom, the Heavenly Eagle kingdom was still many times stronger than it. If they were to join together, the previously weakened Jessan kingdom would become extremely strong. Since Chang Wuji revealed his strength, the status of the Changyang clan had risen within the king's mind. Combined with the genius that was the fourth master, he was unclear on what to do. It was possible that the Qinhuang kingdom had a connection with the ancestor of the Changyang clan, so the king had been unable to make a decision on just whom he should engage his precious daughter to. If he were to marry his daughter to the Changyang clan, it would be a gamble with an outcome beyond his expectations. It was possible that he would even anger the Heavenly Eagle kingdom. The gains wouldn't even begin to compare to the losses. If he married his daughter to the Heavenly Eagle kingdom, the Jessan kingdom would begin to see the profit straight away. These two outcomes were completely black and white in comparison to each other. Suddenly, a heavily armored man came running into the palace with a red insignia on his shoulders. This insignia held an especially special power within the Jessan kingdom and would be able to meet with the king straight away if there was an extremely urgent message. With this insignia, absolutely no one would dare bar the way for the man to see the king. A report for your majesty from the people within the Huayan sect. It is extremely urgent. The black-armored man immediately cried out as he stepped into the palace. At the sign of the armored man with the insignia on his shoulders, the king immediately grew serious. A maid took the letter from the soldier's hand and brought it to him. Taking the letter from the maid, the king immediately cut short his conversation with the Prime Minister of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom and read it. In an instant, the king leaped from his throne and his hands began to shake as he read the letter with wide eyes. Your Majesty, what has happened? The seated Prime Minister asked curiously. The king looked as if he hadn't heard the words of the Prime Minister and immediately looked through the letter one last time in confirmation. Letting out a sigh in shock, he immediately strode for the exit before ordering, prepare a large gift. I wish to head for Lore City, tell the commander Biyao to see me right away. The Prime Minister sprang up from his chair and spoke to the king, Your Majesty, we were still talking about the unison of our two kingdoms, my apologies, Prime Minister. My daughter Yuer was engaged a few years back. The king of the Jessan kingdom replied to the Prime Minister and left the palace in a great hurry without even waiting for a response. Chapter 451, Black Armors. As the king disappeared, the Prime Minister muttered to himself, so what if there is a prior engagement? It is not like they are married, these engagements can be cancelled. The Prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom cannot just come on a fool's errand. After speaking with the Jessan Kingdom's king, the Prime Minister had more or less confirmed the relations between the Jessan Kingdom and the Qinhuang Kingdom. Previously, he had thought the two were close, but now he knew that there was no intimate relations between the two kingdoms, alleviating a good amount of his fears. Jian Chen's commotion at the Huayan sect hadn't been mentioned to anyone outside the sect. If news that the patriarch of the sect had been forced out was revealed by any disciple, they would be expelled and punished severely. The Huayan sect had to protect their status within the Jessan kingdom and prevent the news of what happened from leaking at any costs. If someone were to find out that the fourth master of the Changyang clan had caused such trouble at the Huayan sect, the Huayan sect's prestige would collapse and their development would come to a standstill. At the same time, the Changyang clan would benefit from this and their prestige would raise at the same time as the Huayan sects plummeted. The two grand elders were not willing for this to happen at all. Jian Chen and Chang Wuji had already returned to the Changyang clan, but right now, only Chang Wuji, Changyang Ba, and Bayintian knew what Jian Chen had done. They chose to remain silent on the matter, but were happy nonetheless. Who would have known that the incomparably strong Huayan sect would be dominated by their own child? Jian Chen's military might and success was something both of his parents were extremely proud of. Afterward, Jian Chen remained within the clan and didn't walk out often, choosing to spend his days by his mother's side, talking. Because the tiger cub had still not finished absorbing the heavenly resources, the cub remained in Jian Chen's room sleeping on his bed. The tiger cub was growing at an even faster rate. Jian Chen could sense a presence flowing from the tiger cub with a strength that was at the level of a Class 2 magical beast. As long as this progression continued, it would become a Class 3 magical beast within several days. Within Lore City in a luxurious inn, a red-robed man around the age of 27 sat by a table and drank some wine while his eyes glanced around the place idly. One of the waiters came by with a platter of steaming magical beast meat and gently set it on the table with a bow of her head. Honored customer, your meal is here. Is there anything else you wish for? When it came to this red-robed youth, all of the workers within the inn knew about him. That was because this youth had already lived within the inn for a month in their best room and ate their best foods. He had plenty of money and was quite well-spoken. Sometimes, he would give gold coins as a reward, and after an entire month, the entire staff had already been given a considerable amount of money that was well worth an entire year's worth of pay. And so, every single worker in this inn considered this youth a god of wealth almost. With a wave of his hand, the waitress retreated back, allowing him to dig into his delicious meal with vigor. Why is it that I cannot find Jian Chen? With his status and strength, he should be well known within Lore City. But, why is it that when I ask around, no one has heard of Jian Chen's name before? Could it be that Jian Chen isn't his real name? The youth spoke to himself in a low voice. He had only been in Lore City for a month. After the ending of the gathering of the mercenaries, Jian Shen had given him instructions to find him in Lore City of the Jesson Kingdom. But what area in Lore City, he didn't know. It's time to wait then. Jian Shen should have exited the Holy Lands by now. If he comes from Mercenary City, it'll take him several months to get here if he doesn't use a space gate. The youth sighed before growing silent to dig back into his meal. At the same time, within the stronghold of the Jesson Kingdom, two middle-aged men came riding at a slow pace on top of two Class 3 magical beast mounts before seeing the rubble everywhere. One of the two males was around 40 years old with a bald head. He had an excellent physique that bulged with muscles. His appearance was so noticeable, it could be considered an attack on a person. The other person looked weaker than the first and wore a cyan-colored robe. His black hair was draped over his shoulder and he had a scholarly look to him. Both of his eyes glowed with a sharp look as well. Yunzheng, take a look at that stronghold. That should be the Jesson Kingdom. The stronger-looking man pointed at the destroyed stronghold. Hearing this, Yunzheng took out a map from his space belt and gave it a look before nodding. That's right, according to the map, the Jesson Kingdom is right in front of us. Seeing how the stronghold is damaged like that, they must have just had a war. There's still a bloody stench in the air. The burly man let out a sigh. After half a year of traveling, we've finally reached the Jesson Kingdom. Let's not care about it and go find a city to rest up in. I haven't had any good meat in a long time. After eating, we can take it easy as we head to Lore City. Outside of Lore City, 5 men of varying ages wore rich-looking robes as they walked the path. Each one of them looked rather ordinary, but the auras they exuded were anything but. They even affected the merchants and mercenaries traveling on the same road as them so that the people subconsciously drew away from them as if they didn't dare get closer. From a distance, the walls to Lore City could already be seen. Luo Tian's hand held a gourd of wine, drinking it viciously as he walked. Then, he turned to the elder right next to him. Xiao Tian, Lore City is a first-class city with an equally large area. Where are we going to find the Imperial Protector? Xiao Tian shook his head. The Imperial Protector wasn't clear in his instructions. Let us wait for what happens afterward to see. Is the Imperial Protector truly from the Jesson Kingdom? Why is such a strong person like the Imperial Protector so unknown within the Jesson Kingdom? This is far too outrageous. Qing Xiaofan spoke questioningly. I find this strange as well. With the strength of the Imperial Protector, the entire Jesson Kingdom should know about him. Instead, he is completely unknown. This is quite strange. Dongyi Junbai spoke. Xiao Tian looked at the others with a displeased look. That's enough. We are already on the main roads. There isn't a need to talk about such a topic. A question like this will be easily resolved later. Suddenly, the sounds of hooves could be heard trotting across the ground from behind as a large group of black armored soldiers came storming forward on their magical beast mounts. A single trail of smoke rose up above the ground as they traversed through the area. Banners could be seen hoisted in the air, causing every single merchant and mercenary to pale. That's the black armors. Quick, get out of the way. One of the merchants cried out in shock before forcing his carriage to the side to allow the force to ride past. Then, they each looked at the army as they blew past them with looks of confusion. The black armors are the strongest force that protects the imperial family. They rarely come out, so what's going on today for their entire force to assemble in such a frantic manner? Did something happen? Many of the mercenaries began to question. At that moment, the 5 imperial advisors walking up front turned around to look at the charging black armors. AI, isn't that the king of the Jesson Kingdom? Why is he running in such a hurry? Could he be looking for us? Luo Tian spoke with surprise. The black armors were moving at a high speed and quickly came close to the imperial advisors. At that moment, the leader of the black armors that was protecting the king of the Jesson Kingdom instantly realized who those 5 were. He immediately waved his hand and cried out, "Halt!" Instantly, the black armors stopped their charge, allowing the king time to dismount from his mount to quickly walk up to the 5 imperial advisors with a warm smile and bow. This one had no idea that we would come across the honored imperial advisors here. How coincidental. When the other black armors recognized who these experts were, they immediately bowed their heads in greeting as well. Your Majesty, seeing how rushed you are, has something happened? Dongi Junbai spoke with a curious look. The king let out a smile. This might be unbelievable to the honored imperial advisors, but there is an exceptional expert within our Jesson kingdom. Despite being so young, he has already become a Heaven Saint Master. Just by himself, he was able to defeat 3 other Heaven Saint Masters without being damaged himself. Even this king is amazed at such a feat. Hearing this, each one of the 5 imperial advisors looked at each other in surprise and amazement before Xiao Tian spoke. Your Majesty, who might this person be? He is the 4th master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Shangtian. The king didn't hide anything at all and gave a bright smile. In his heart, he knew that with Changyang Shangtian's talent, even the imperial advisors from the Qinhuang kingdom would wish to bring him into their friendship. With the engagement from Changyang Shangtian to his daughter and the connection with the Qinhuang kingdom, the Jesson kingdom would surely profit from this. It was very possible that Changyang Shangtian would be able to bring the relationship between the 2 kingdoms to an even higher height. The 4th master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Shangtian. The 5 imperial advisors had made sure to remember that name. Immediately, the 5 of them agreed to follow the king to the Changyang clan. Against such a request, the king had no desire to deny them and agreed with a straightforward response. In his heart, he was overjoyed. Everything was going according to plan. Chapter 452, revealing his identity afterward, the 5 imperial advisors and the king of the Jesson kingdom entered Lore City, and made their through the streets before ultimately stopping right outside the gates to the Changyang clan. The black armors quickly cordoned the area and stood guard to protect the king. Although the 5 imperial advisors were here, making it impossible for harm to befall the king, the black armors still had a job to do. Standing right beside the king, the commander of the black armors, Biyao, stood with a stony expression as he looked at the Changyang clan. All sorts of feelings could be felt within his heart. He didn't know what to feel exactly after being told of the news by the king. The Changyang clan had long since heard that the king was coming. Therefore many of the higher-ranking members had already gathered by the gates. Even Changyang Ba and Chang Wuji were standing at the very front with the elders of the clan behind them. Jian Chen and the ants were right behind the elders. We welcome His Majesty to our Changyang clan. His Majesty truly does bring grace to our clan. The leader of the clan, Changyang Ba, smiled while Chang Wuji stood by his side. Grabbing the present from one of the black armor's soldiers, the king handed it over to Changyang Ba and smiled. This king hasn't been to Lore City in a long time. Since I had the time today, I decided to pay a visit. I do hope this king isn't interrupting anything. Changyang Ba let out a chuckle as he spoke a few words to the king before looking to the 5 imperial advisors right behind him with a startled look. Hurriedly, he bowed to them and spoke. This one didn't think that the honored imperial advisors would come by as well. Our Changyang clan has neglected ourselves. Please come in. To the 5 imperial advisors, Changyang Ba's face grew even more prudent without daring to be impolite. Chang Wuji bowed to the 5 imperial advisors as well before speaking several polite words. Then, he invited the group enthusiastically into the clan. If the 5 imperial advisors were to stay as guests within the Changyang clan, it would be a tremendous honor for the Changyang clan. Even the guards and elders of the Changyang clan all grew excited and happy when they saw the imperial advisors come walking into the clan compound. Seeing how enthusiastic Changyang Ba and Chang Wuji were, the 5 imperial advisors didn't wish to look rude either. With happy smiles, they returned the polite greetings and spoke with words that were even more polite than the ones they had spoken back at the imperial palace. Afterward, the king and the other black armor soldiers around him followed the 5 imperial advisors past the gates. The king spoke in somewhat of a rush. Changyang Ba, I've heard that Changyang Shangtian has returned. Where might he be, and if possible, would this king be able to see him? Even though he is my future son-in-law, I've yet to see him still, ha ha ha. A faint smile could be seen on Changyangba's face while his heart seemed to glow brighter as he looked behind the elders to Jianchen. Xiang'er, come greet his majesty. Perhaps it would be more appropriate to call him father-in-law. Chang Wuji suddenly spoke with a smile. Hearing this, the king was startled for a moment before quickly letting out a smile while Changyangba showed a great big cheerful smile on his face. The dozen elders quickly made a path through them as the white-robed, handsome Jianchen came striding forward to bow toward the king. With a small smile, he spoke with neither a servile nor overbearing voice. Changyang Xiangtian pays his respect to his majesty. Looking at Jianchen with a serious expression, the king took notice of Jianchen's short hair, his handsome appearance, and the perfect balance of his face that no one could complain about. All this was combined with a pale white skin that suited his appearance and caused many females to be jealous. Jianchen was practically a walking killer of women. With his handsome and determined face, Jianchen had clearly matured and did not look like a person that could be trifled with. Good. Very good. Seeing his future son-in-law, the king was pleased, and spoke only those 3 words. As a king, he had seen many people, but even he could tell that Jianchen was by no means an everyday face. Hearing about him and seeing him in person were 2 different things. Now that he had met Jianchen, his evaluation of him had instantly gone up. He is truly a dragon among men. The king sighed in admiration. By his side, Changyangba had a prideful smile for his son. When the 5 imperial advisors saw Jianchen, they were shocked. Giving each other a look, they immediately strode forward and cupped their hands with them as they spoke. We pay our respects to the imperial protector. When the 5 said, Imperial Protector, the faces of both Changyangba and the king of the Jessan kingdom instantly froze up. Blankly, they looked at how the 5 imperial advisors greeted Jianchen and stood there without speaking for a long time. All of the elders and guards of the Changyang clan and the black armor soldiers protecting the king had the same expression on their faces as well. Each one stared at the 5 imperial advisors greeting Jianchen with stupefied looks. Imperial Protector? Just what reason are the 5 imperial advisors from the powerful Qinhuang kingdom calling Changyang Xiangtian Imperial Protector? The 3rd aunt Bai Yushuang spoke with surprise. In her heart, shock had completely washed over her. Jianchen forced out a smile as he looked at Xiao Tian and the others. I didn't think you would be able to find me so quickly. Qing Xiaofan looked around before letting out a small smile. Honored Imperial Protector, I hope we did not cause any trouble for you. Jianchen let out a small breath of air, but before he could speak, Changyangba's voice rang out first. Xiang'er, just what exactly is happening? Changyangba's voice trembled as he tried to hide the confusion in his words. Everyone had heard Changyang Xiangtian referred to as the Imperial Protector, but none of them could believe it. The 5 imperial advisors had unexpectedly called his own son an Imperial Protector. Could that possibly mean that the reason why the Qinhuang kingdom, specifically the 5 imperial advisors, had traveled countless of kilometers to provide assistance to the Jessan kingdom was because of his own son, Changyang Xiangtian? At that moment, Chang Wuji and the king regained their consciousness and looked at Jianchen in shock while also waiting for his response. Jianchen hesitated for a moment before he spoke. Father, we should speak about this in the hall. Changyangba snapped out of his shock as well and quashed the tremors in his heart. Quickly, he spoke, yes, let us go to the hall. Your Majesty, honored imperial advisors, please follow me inside. After speaking, the upper echelons of the Changyang clan, the king of the Jessan kingdom, and the 5 imperial advisors all walked into the hall. Jianchen's mother and his 3 aunts originally didn't have any right to participate in this discussion. However, now that a connection between Jianchen and the Qinhuang kingdom had been revealed, they summoned their courage to join the conversation. Because there weren't enough chairs for everyone, the elders of the Changyang clan were the first to give up their seats. The elders standing to the side did not speak a single word, instead they stared at Jianchen with looks of utter shock. In their minds, they couldn't help but think to what they had just heard. The 5 imperial advisors had unexpectedly called the 4th master Changyang Xiangtian their imperial protector. They could hardly believe such a thing had happened. Seeing how the elders refused to sit and instead stood by the side, Jianchen took his mother and sat her down in a chair before sitting in the seat next to her. "Xiang'er, just what is going on? Are you truly the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom?" As soon as he sat down, Changyang Ba immediately spoke with the question that was raring to escape from his mouth. "That is correct, father. I have the status of being the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom." Jianchen spoke honestly. Now that the truth was out, Jianchen saw no need to hide the facts. Changyang Ba's body began to tremble as his face started to twitch with emotion. He turned his head to the 5 imperial advisors as if looking for confirmation. The other men within the hall of the compound immediately grew silent at Jianchen's words. Their eyes lost their light as they lost themselves in thought. The elders and Chang Wuji were especially affected as shock rode through their hearts. The mysterious imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom had in truth been their very own clan member. The 5 imperial advisors from the Qinhuang kingdom let out smiles and nodded to verify Jianchen's words. Among the entire group, the king of the Jesson kingdom was the most astounded and unbelieving. At first, the identity of the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom had been a mystery to him. It had left him struggling to figure out what the actual connection between the Jesson and the Qinhuang kingdom was, and if it was possible to climb relations with them as if they were a tree. For the sake of thinking about such a thing, he had racked his mind trying to think of a way to no avail. He never would have thought that the result would be so theatrical. After expending so much effort, the imperial protector he wanted to curry favor with was actually his very own son-in-law. With such a result, the king of the Jesson kingdom didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Dear son-in-law, you have surprised your entire family." The king forced a small smile on his face, but knowing that Jianchen was the imperial protector caused him to be incredibly happy. He also started to speak to him with a different tone. Chang Wuji let out a sigh before speaking gratefully to Jianchen, "4th master, this one had no idea that you had such an important status. Our Changyang clan will definitely shine brighter because of you." Now that Jianchen's identity had been revealed to the entire upper echelons of the Changyang clan, everyone looked at Jianchen in a new light. Being the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom was more than enough to completely quash a king of a small kingdom like the Jesson kingdom. Chapter 453, Child of the Bai clan. Everyone began to talk to each other after learning of such information. Now that the 5 imperial advisors knew the true identity of the imperial protector, they began to treat the Changyang clan with a politeness unlike the previous noble demeanor they had used before. The 5 of them had an attitude that made the entire Changyang clan feel honored, causing the clan members' faces to light up as an indicator of their feelings. Because of their connection to Jianchen, the Changyang clan instantly leaped over the dragon's gate and transformed into the mighty dragon. The king of the Jesson kingdom was now the lowest ranking group in terms of power among the people present. However, the king paid no attention to the ranking at all and was instead very happy. He could swear that in his entire life, he had never been as happy as he was now. Everyone continued to speak for some time before a banquet was prepared. Afterward, Changyang Ba invited everyone to a delicious meal. "Xiang'er, follow your father now." Changyang Ba began to pull at Jianchen's hands as they walked out. Jianchen could sense that his father's hands were shaking a little. After the banquet had been prepared in the spacious hall, the most outstanding maids gathered and began to prepare several seats around the tables. The 5 imperial advisors from the Qinhuang kingdom, the king of the Jesson kingdom, the leader of the Changyang clan, Chang Wuji, Jianchen and his mother Bai Yuntian were all seated at the same table. This arrangement had been formed after a discussion between the high-ranking elders of the Changyang clan. Although Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian were not at the very top of the hierarchy, because of their outstanding son, they were able to hold the same amount of power now that their statuses had been elevated. As for Chang Wuji, despite being a housekeeper for the Changyang clan, he had a special status within the clan. He was fully deserving of having the right to sit at this banquet with the high-ranking elders of the clan. Xiang'er has profited from such a disaster, it would seem. When he was forced out of his home 6 years ago at the age of 15, I never would have thought that Xiang'er would grow so rapidly and by such an unbelievable amount. Changyangba sighed in admiration at the table. Quite right, my son-in-law is quite talented, a talent that has never been seen before. The king spouted. Hearing what the two of them said, the 5 imperial advisors looked at each other in shock. Although Jian Chen was young, they had all thought that Jian Chen's true age was at the very least older than what his appearance portrayed. After all, the appearance of a person was not a true way to determine a person's age. After hearing what Changyangba said, the 5 of them realized that Jian Chen was truly younger than they thought. He was only 21 years old. A heaven saint master at the age of 21. At such a thought, Xiao Tian's heart was overwhelmed with shock. Originally, he had speculated that Jian Chen was 50 years old at the most, and 30 years old at the very least. Now that they all knew Jian Chen's true age, they were completely mute with shock. Being a heaven saint master at the age of 21 was something that had never been done before. The last outstanding genius, over the entire history of the Tianyuan continent, had been 30 years old at the very least when he had become a heaven saint master. Even more surprising, that very same genius later on became a saint king. The 5 imperial advisors made resolutions within their hearts. They would without fail try their best to curry favor with the youngest imperial protector within the history of the Qinhuang kingdom and try to establish deep friendships with him. In their hearts, they knew that this young imperial protector would at the very least become an entity that would step into the realm of the Saint King. Even after the feast ended, nobody left. Instead, they gathered back in the giant hall of the Changyang clan, where they began to converse once more. It was only at night that the entire group split ways. In private, the king of the Jessan kingdom seeked out Changyangba and Bayuntian, my dear relatives, now that the war is finally over, this king still has many things to do. So, I must take my leave tomorrow morning. I sincerely hope that you will be able to visit the palace with me and discuss the engagement between my daughter and Xiangtian. Now that they are both older, it is time to manage the marriage. Haha, of course, of course. Your Majesty, please do not worry, once the Changyang clan calms down, I will immediately bring Xiang'er to the palace. I hope this will not trouble your Majesty. Changyangba laughed. Although his son's identity was vastly different, Changyangba himself still approved of such a marriage. One reason was because he wanted to reassure the king, and the other reason was because he approved of the princess. Changyangba had seen the princess before and could only speak of her with admiration. The princess was truly an outstanding young lady. Haha, what kind of talk is that? This king would be happy to receive you, it is no bother at all. The king boomed with laughter. With that, the joyous mood receded as he cleared his throat and left. After the king left, Changyangba and Bayuntian walked to Jian Chen's room only to discover that the 5 imperial advisors were already inside Jian Chen's room. Changyangba and his wife spoke several words of greeting to the imperial advisors before turning to Jian Chen. Xiang'er, rest up for tonight. Tomorrow morning, we leave for the imperial palace. Yes, father. Jian Chen replied. This was within his expectations, since his identity as an imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom had been revealed. It would be abnormal if the king of the Jessan kingdom didn't try to rope the Changyang clan into his influence as soon as possible. After thinking about his own identity, Jian Chen knew that the Jessan kingdom would definitely rise in power thanks to the Qinhuang kingdom. No matter what, the Jessan kingdom was his homeland, and where the Changyang clan had laid down its roots. As the child of the Changyang clan, this was something he should do. Changyangba and Bayuntian wanted to speak a little more with Jian Chen, but when they saw the 5 imperial advisors, they had no other choice but to leave. After Changyangba and Bayuntian left, Jian Chen let out a deep sigh before sitting back down. Tomorrow morning I will be back at the imperial palace. You five should remain here for a few days. Yes, honored Imperial Protector. Xiao Tian gave a response. Unbeknownst to Jian Chen, Xiao Tian's attitude toward him had become even more respectful than before. If one were to exclude his terrifying potential, Jian Chen would still be able to fight the five of them by himself with his strength right now. As soon as the five Imperial left, one of the maids waiting outside came into the room. Fourth Master, the fourth lady and clan leader wished to speak with you in the hall. I understand, you may go. Jian Chen replied. As you wish. The maid withdrew. Walking up to his bed, Jian Chen looked at the peacefully sleeping white tiger cub on his pillow for a moment before leaving his room to speak with his parents. It was already night outside, but the Changyang clan was still lit with fire, and black armored soldiers could be seen patrolling around the clan compound with icy looks. Not only were the regular sentries of the Changyang clan standing guard, but there were also the black armors which were in charge of protecting the king. When Jian Chen entered the hall, he didn't have to worry about the activity that was normally seen in the daytime. There were only 3 people within the hall. 2 of them were his parents, while the third person was a middle-aged man wearing black armor. He recognized this middle-aged man sitting across from Bai Yuntian and Changyang Ba. It was his uncle, Bai Dao. Xianger, come greet your uncle. Bai Yuntian told Jian Chen as Bai Dao turned to look at Jian Chen with a happy expression. Jian Chen strode forward quickly before replying, hello, uncle. Bai Dao stood up from his stool with a bright smile, haha, excellent. It is no wonder you are the pride of our Bai clan. As he spoke, Bai Dao strode toward Jian Chen before quickly striking at Jian Chen's chest like lightning. Wind-attributed saint force gathered in his fist before exploding like a strong gale from the force of his fist. Bai Dao's strike had been very sudden without any premonition. Combined with his strength as an Earth Saint Master, even Changyang Ba hadn't seen the attack coming. Jian Chen's lips curled into a faint smile as he began to gather all of the energy of the world instantly in his palm. Then, he met Bai Dao's attack straight on with a graceful swing of his palm. As the two sides collided, a muffled sound could be heard from the contact. However, the excellent control of energy from both sides made it so no energy shockwave exploded outward. Dang dang dang. After the fist and palm had made contact, Bai Dao's legs were forced back several steps as he attempted to steady himself. With yet another smile on his face, he spoke, you can truly control the energy of the world, Xiangtian. You've truly stepped into the realm of the Heaven Saint Masters. It is no wonder that you are the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom. Brother, do you believe me now? Bai Yuntian spoke with a pleased look on her face. Her own son held such a high achievement, making her feel extremely proud. I definitely believe now, ha ha ha. Bai Dao laughed from his happiness. His eyes shimmered with a small layer of water that quickly disappeared as fast as it had appeared, meaning no one spotted it. Changyang Ba stood up from his stool and smiled, Bai Dao, you and your sister haven't met for 6 years, why don't you two chat for now? I need to arrange several things, so Xianger, why don't you sit here with your uncle and mother? Changyang Ba spoke before leaving. Very quickly, Bai Dao calmed himself and looked at his nephew with a complicated look. A 21-year-old Heaven Saint Master, how unbelievable. Who would have known that even after the destruction of our Bai clan such an outstanding child would appear? Bai Dao sighed as his face slowly grew more and more serious. Looking at Jian Chen, his next words were more earnest, Xiangtian, your uncle knows that you are different than you were in the past, and your uncle wants you to remember, not only do you possess the blood of the Changyang clan through your veins, but you also contain the blood of our Bai clan. The grievances of our Bai clan all rest with you. Bai Yuntian's eyebrows narrowed together as she gave a critical look to Bai Dao and spoke with dissatisfaction, brother, Xianger is still too young. Why must you speak of such matters now? Xianger has only just returned from the bitter outer world and finally made his way back home. You needn't push even more worries onto Xianger now. Mother, uncle is right. I am not only the child of the Changyang clan, but the Bai clan as well. Wait until I have enough strength, I will definitely take revenge for the Bai clan. Jianchen answered in a serious manner. Chapter 454, The Grand Princess, Xianger, you don't need to decide on what to do for our Bai clan just yet, let that wait for later. Bai Yintian spoke with concern. Despite her son being the imperial protector for the Qinhuang kingdom, the enemies of the Bai clan were far from weak, and their identities today were still unclear. If the patriarch of the Bai clan was a saint ruler and still couldn't resolve the matter, how would her own son be able to? At least for right now, it was impossible. Xiangtian, listen to your mother. You only need to remember our enemies. Revenge can wait for later. We haven't any idea on who the enemies are, perhaps our ancestors only knew a little about them as well. Bai Dao spoke in a low whisper, but as he spoke of the past, there was a pained look on his face. Bai Dao calmed himself down and continued, even though our Bai clan had 4 heaven saint masters, they all fell. Even our saint ruler patriarch's current status is unknown. Finding out whether he is alive or not is our highest priority. But we still do not know where the patriarch is located if he is still alive. Bai Yintian spoke with concern. A saint ruler would not die easily. With Xiangtian's talent, I believe that he will sooner or later cross over into the same realm. That will make looking for the patriarch easier. Bai Dao looked to Jianchen, Xiangtian, I hope that you will be mindful and listen for news about our Bai clan's patriarch. I will. Jianchen nodded. Jianchen, his mother, and his uncle began to chat in the hall afterward before much time had passed. The 3 people there split paths and returned to their rooms to rest. The night quickly went by. The next morning Jianchen walked out with the tiger cub in his hands. After eating breakfast with everyone, he left the Changyang clan with Changyang Ba, Bai Yintian, the king and his black armors. The 5 imperial advisors remained behind within the Changyang clan and were provided for with warm hospitality. The reason Jianchen had them stay within the clan compound was a selfish one. He wanted his clan to gain some prestige for having the imperial advisors with them. After several hours of traveling, everyone finally arrived back at the imperial palace by night. The king brought Jianchen and his parents to their own personal palace rooms where they rested in. While there, several maids attended to them before leaving in a hurry. Not long after the king left, a young person over the age of 20 and an elder could be seen having a discussion with each other in a grand receiving room. At this moment, a middle-aged man came rushing in before kneeling before the youth and elder, a report for the second prince and Prime Minister Che. The king of the Jesson kingdom has returned to the palace and brought with him 3 people of unusual status. Hearing this, the Prime Minister narrowed his eyes and asked, were you able to hear who these 3 people are? Prime Minister, this humble servant was able to hear it clearly. All 3 of them are from the Changyang clan. Within the Jesson kingdom, they hold a decisive amount of power. The man spoke. A spark of light could be seen in the Prime Minister's eyes as he spoke, you may leave. Be sure to take note of every action they take. Yes, Prime Minister. The man quickly left the room. The Prime Minister immersed himself in thought as he muttered, the Changyang clan, so they are from that clan? I heard a few years back, the king of the Jesson kingdom engaged his daughter to a person named Changyang Xiangtian, the 4th master of the Changyang clan. Yesterday, the king refused a marriage between our 2 kingdoms, and today, he brings the Changyang clan to the imperial palace. The meaning of this doesn't even need to be said. The second prince had a dangerous gleam in his eyes as he slowly drank his cup of tea. With a neither calm or angry voice, he spoke, this king doesn't know how to tell bad from good. Our heavenly eagle kingdom has already offered a union between our 2 kingdoms, but instead of cherishing such an opportunity, he has slighted us in public. The Prime Minister spoke with a laugh, calm your anger, second prince. The marriage was something that His Majesty ordered me to complete. This old servant will surely arrange for it to happen. The relation between the Qinhuang and the Jesson kingdom is definitely not as intimate as we initially thought, there is no need to worry. Hearing this, the second prince revealed a smile on his face. Then I'll be troubling the Prime Minister for your help. The Prime Minister's hand stroked his beard as he looked at the second prince with a smile. Has the second prince been tempted by the princess? The second prince nodded his head. Her reputation precedes her. The princess truly is an excellent individual. Not only is her talent at cultivation as strong as mine, she is also exceedingly beautiful. The air she carries about her is quite different than other women. Like a needle in the haystack, she is beautiful and elegant like a fairy released into the human world. The Prime Minister smirked. His elderly eyes watched how moved the second prince had become, because of the princess. At the same time, within a red silk-laced room in the palace, a single black-haired young lady could be seen sitting at her dressing table. Both of her arms were machine-like as she combed her own long hair. Her slender white fingers held the wooden comb and made the combing motions gracefully and naturally. She wore a black and white cheongsam that added a sense of purity to her beauty. Her eyes gleamed with a dark look that seemed as if they were concealing an ability to captivate any man that looked at her. "Yuer, may your father enter?" The gentle voice of a man could be heard outside her door. "Father, you may enter." The seated lady spoke gently. The door opened, revealing the king of the Jesson kingdom, who came striding into the room. When he saw his daughter combing her hair, he let a small sigh escape his lips. "Yuer, your father understands your feelings, but your father is also the ruler of a kingdom, meaning there are situations where even I cannot move freely. Father, your daughter understands. From the day I was born into royalty, your daughter lost the ability to live her own life." The daughter's expression had a downcast look to it. "Yuer, please do not be so sad. Your father truly loves you. How could your father bear to let you feel anguish? Yuer is far too outstanding, so there is only one man in your father's mind that suits you. Yuer, hurry and get dressed. We must go see your future husband, Changyang Shangtian of the Changyang clan." "Changyang Shangtian? Is it not the prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom?" the girl asked in confusion. "The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom." The king spoke with a low nagging voice and his eyes revealed a disdainful look. "How could the prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom suit my Yuer? Yuer, you may not know of this, but as things stands now, it is time to tell you." The king stopped speaking for a moment as he drew closer to Yuer. He looked at the copper mirror that reflected the beauty that was his daughter. With a smile, he spoke. "Yuer, when you were staying at Kargath Academy in the past, I believe you met Changyang Shangtian. After a few years, Changyang Shangtian is now a person of many achievements and has far exceeded the expectations your father had. Did you know? Changyang Shangtian is 21 years old, but he has already become a Heaven Saint Master. Furthermore, he was able to defeat 3 of the Heaven Saint Masters of the Huayun sect by himself." Yuer's eyes regained some semblance of vigor as her face betrayed a look of shock. She thought about how a 21-year-old was a Heaven Saint Master. Next, the king followed up on his own words. "That's not all, Yuer. Do you know why the imperial advisors of the Qinhuang kingdom came to the assistance of our Jesson kingdom all of a sudden?" At a loss, Yuer shook her head. This was completely because of Changyang Shangtian, for he is also the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom. Those 5 imperial advisors of the Qinhuang kingdom obeyed Changyang Shangtian's command to help our Jesson kingdom. As he spoke, the king of the Jesson kingdom couldn't help but reveal some excitement in his voice as he himself grew excited. This piece of information caused no small amount of shock to Yuer. As she digested the words, Yuer's eyes began to widen as her cherry-red lips dropped down to form an O shape in utter disbelief. After a long moment, Yuer finally regained her spirit and turned to look in shock at the king. Hiding her mouth behind her hands, she asked, How is that possible? Father, are you deceiving your daughter?" The king laughed. "Yuer, do you think your father would play such a trick on you? Yuer, it's time for you to get dressed. In a moment, I will be meeting with Changyang Shangtian. The Changyang clan right now is a clan that our Jesson kingdom should remember to curry favor with. In the future, our kingdom will be relying on them. Ha ha ha, I never would have thought that the Imperial Protector would unexpectedly be the fourth master of the Changyang clan, how shocking. This one is named Yi Ming, but if the Imperial Protector would be happy, please just call me by my name instead of my title. Within the palace, a white-robed figure laughed out loud and didn't bother to hide the joyous look on his face. This elder was the Heaven Saint Master in charge of protecting the Jesson Kingdom, but he had once seen Jian Chen at the eastern stronghold during the war. Jian Chen nodded his head with a smile on his face, but didn't speak a word. Honored Imperial Protector, I've heard that you were once a student of Kargath Academy. The headmaster, Kafir, is already on his way here after hearing the news. I believe that he'll be here soon. Wait until he hears that the Imperial Protector was actually a past student of Kargath Academy. I wonder what expression he'll have, ha ha ha. Yi Ming laughed. I predict that he will be far too stunned to say a word. After Yi Ming spoke, another voice came out from behind them abruptly. Turning around, the two could see the king himself and a beautifully dressed, all in white, Yue right behind him. Her eyes had a resplendent glow to them as she looked curiously at the three people from the Changyang clan before ultimately glancing upon Jian Chen's face. My dear son-in-law, this is my daughter, the Grand Princess, Yu. This name was personally picked out for her by her mother. As they entered the room, the king introduced his daughter straight away, but when he mentioned Yu's mother, his face showed a glint of sadness. Chapter 455, Rescinding the Engagement. Jian Chen stood up from his chair and looked at Yu with tranquil eyes and a smile. I pay my respects to the Grand Princess. The princess was wearing a white changpao and stood quietly behind the king. Her long, beautiful, black hair that usually cascaded down to her waist was tied up to her head in a delicate fashion. Combined with her beautiful looks, which were capable of felling a country, her appearance had the ability to steal a man's soul. The princess didn't speak a word or return a bow and instead looked at Jian Chen curiously. Her eyes twinkled in the light, giving her the appearance of a wise person. Laughing, the king spoke, My dear son-in-law, this must be the first time you have come to my imperial palace. Allow my Yue to show you around the place. Not even waiting for Jian Chen to respond, the king gave a look to the princess behind him. Understanding the meaning in his stare, the princess spoke gently, Lord Changyang Shangtian, if you would please follow me. Her voice was so soft and gentle that everyone who heard her felt themselves at peace. Then I will trouble the princess. Jian Chen smiled as he walked forward. There were still some things he wished to speak with the princess about. Seeing him leisurely walk out with the princess, Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian let faint smiles appear on their faces. Having the princess as a daughter was something they were both extremely satisfied with. Within the Jesson Kingdom, aside from the princess, they hadn't been able to find any other woman capable of fitting with their son. Even the king had a joyous smile on his face as he sat down next to Yi Ming and faced Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian. My dear family, nephew Shangtian and my daughter Yue aren't young anymore. It seems to me that it is best to take care of the matters of marriage straight away. The king laughed, hoping that they could continue the marriage as quickly as possible. Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian looked at each other for a brief moment before Bai Yuntian answered, Your Majesty, we wholly agree to the marriage of Xiang'er to the princess. However, Xiang'er has grown old as well to become old enough to handle his own responsibilities. There are some matters we dare not meddle in, so I propose that we wait for Xiang'er to see what his opinion is. Hearing this, there was a glint of disappointment in the king's eyes, but he agreed with Bai Yuntian's thoughts. In the imperial palace, a single guard could be seen walking into the quarters of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's envoys. Cupping his hands, he spoke, A report for the second prince and the prime minister. The king of the Jesson Kingdom has brought the princess out. She and another male around the age of 20 were seen walking toward the imperial garden. You may leave. The prime minister waved his hand for the guard to leave before furrowing his eyebrows together. There was a cold glint in the second prince's eyes as his face grew dark. That youth must be Changyang Shangtian. That king has refused our toast, and now, he'll drink to his defeat. I personally came all the way here just to be treated in such an absurd way. Ridiculous. Even the Prime Minister let out a short snort. It would appear that the king of the Jessan kingdom is determined to marry the princess to the Changyang clan. It is time to find the king himself for an answer. With that, the Prime Minister flicked his sleeves with a furious expression. After the Prime Minister left, the second prince thought for a moment before snorting, "Changyang Shangtian, let this prince see just what right you have. I am a man you cannot even touch." With that, the second prince left the place to walk toward the imperial garden with several other people from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Jianshen walked alongside the princess as they strolled around the palace before quickly coming into a sea of flowers. This was a world full of fresh flowers of all kinds and all sorts of colors arranged in a beautiful pattern. A sweet fragrance wafted into the air, allowing everyone to feel comforted with each breath. On the way, the two hadn't spoken a single word, but it was evident that the princess truly loved this area. As she walked alongside the flowers at a leisurely pace, her face revealed a gentle smile as she looked at the many beautiful flowers. This is the biggest flower garden within the entire Jessan kingdom. I enjoy this place, and if I am within the palace, I will always find myself looking at these beautiful flowers. I planted these flowers myself when I was young. The princess smiled as she spoke with a voice similar to a skylark in melody. Her snow-white changpao combined with her beautiful looks, made her resemble a fairy as she stood in the middle of the flowers. Jianshen looked at the beautiful face of the princess for a moment before speaking, "Princess, have we met before?" He had been waiting to ask this question for a very long time. Hearing this, the princess' eyes turned away from the flowers and back toward Jianshen before smiling. "My name is Yu, Changyang Shangtian, do you remember it?" An image suddenly flashed in Jianshen's mind as he realized just who she was. "So it's you? We met many years ago at Kargath Academy, no wonder I felt that the princess looked familiar to me." The princess couldn't help but think back to when she had met Changyang Shangtian for the very first time, several years ago in the library of Kargath Academy. His thirst and enthrallment for knowledge had left a deep impression on her. And now, after several years, the tiny saint had suddenly transformed to become one of the strongest individuals on the Tianyuan continent. The entire Jessan kingdom, which was on the verge of destruction, had in fact been saved by this one individual, causing the princess to feel astounded. Yet, at the same time she was left in disbelief. Looking at the handsome face of Changyang Shangtian, the princess hesitated for a moment before speaking, "Changyang Shangtian, I heard from my father that you are a heaven saint master. Would it be possible for you to allow me to experience what it is like to fly?" Jianshen hesitated briefly before ultimately nodding his head with a smile, "Princess, prepare yourself then." With that, Jianshen's right hand gently grasped the princess' arm. Despite her clothes serving as a barrier between his hand and her arm, Jianshen could feel her gentle yet flexible skin underneath. Her arm was very minute and soft. Jianshen's hand could fully wrap around it despite his hands not being too big. The very moment Jianshen touched her arm, the princess revealed a frantic expression on her face. Ever since she was young, no other male had touched her besides her father. Without even waiting for her to react, a layer of the wind element enveloped her entire body and levitated her body from the ground. She began to slowly float into the air. Jianshen's expression was very calm and his eyes were as tranquil as water. He slowly brought the princess into the air and up toward the sky. Soon enough, the princess calmed herself as the fresh feeling of flight captured her heart. Her face grew curious and happy as she looked down at the slowly shrinking palace below her. "Is this what it's like to fly? This is like a bird flying through the air freely. How envious I am of their experience." The princess' face could not hide the admiration she felt. The princess has talent. As long as you continue to work hard, you will one day step into the realm of the Heaven Saint Masters. Jianshen laughed. The princess truly did have such talent. At her current age, she was already at the Saint Master realm. The two quickly descended back to the ground in the center of the flower garden. The look the princess gave to Jianshen now was completely different than the one from before. Seeing the beautiful face of the princess, Jianchen hesitated for a moment before speaking. Princess, Changyang Shangtian, call me Yuer. That is what my father and Uncle Yi Ming call me. As Jianchen opened his mouth, it was closed shut by Yuer. Shortly after she spoke, her face grew a little red. Then I shall do that. Jianchen didn't argue. Princess Yu, there is still a matter I wish to discuss with you. The princess remained quiet as her bright eyes continued to stare straight at Jianchen. Continuing, Jianchen spoke, Princess Yu, the marriage between the two of us has never been agreed to by either of us. Our parents may have agreed, but the way this marriage was proposed is something I am actually against. In the past, I hadn't the power to do anything about it, and so I accepted it in silence. But it is different now. I have the power now. With that, Jianchen stopped speaking for a moment. Although he hadn't been completely straightforward, the intelligent Yu could understand where Jianchen was going with this. The princess went silent for a moment as her eyes stared at the Go board on a nearby table. After a while, she spoke, Changyang Shangtian, do you wish to rescind our engagement? Princess Yu, I believe that even you are against how this marriage was carried out. If you agree, I will immediately ask the king to annul the marriage. I know why your father did such a thing, but you needn't worry. I am a citizen of the Jesson Kingdom, this is my home, and I will definitely protect my home. Jianchen spoke calmly. In the past, he had been completely against this marriage. However, at the time he didn't have any power, he couldn't do anything about it. Now, the situation was different from the past. The princess was silent for a moment, but her heart was anything but calm. Hearing Jianchen's wish to rescind the engagement caused her heart to feel a stinging pain of disappointment. It was as if she had lost something extremely important. Chapter 456, Threat of the Second Prince. Back when she was attending Kargath Academy, when she had heard that her father had already confirmed an engagement between her and someone else, the princess had been extremely against such a proposal. She had even gone to visit her father in person several times to try and repeal it, but all her attempts had resulted in failure. But after she had grown up, the princess had gradually come to understand the situation. Right now, the Jesson Kingdom could be considered to be a developing kingdom. And although she was a princess of a pampered status, there were many things she did not have the freedom to do independently. For example, she didn't even have any margin of choice regarding an important matter like lifelong marriage which related to her future happiness. Thus, she was born as a victim, to be sacrificed for the well-being of her kingdom. Such a fate like this had only been gradually accepted by her as time went on. Initially, when she had first heard of the king's proposal of marriage between Jianchen and her, she had been against it. But since the moment she'd hear of Jianchen's achievements and saw his appearance, her heart had gradually accepted him. After all, Jianchen was handsome and talented. If he was able to become a Heaven Saint Master at the age of 21, his future potential was practically unlimited. Not only that, but he was also an imperial protector for the Qinhuang Kingdom and was not arrogant despite holding such a status. In fact, he was rather amiable. After being enshrouded with so many glorious achievements, the princess image of Jianchen had begun to change for the better. She could even say that Jiachen was a natural-born slayer of the hearts of women, the knight in shining armor they dreamed of. Thus, the princess had secretly felt delighted at this marriage before because of Jianchen's excellent qualities. Even if she were to survey the entire continent, it would be hard to find a man that would be able to measure up to Jianchen. Moreover, Jianchen's particularly strong amount of strength and special status were also extremely important to the princess. The thought of having such an outstanding person as her future husband stirred excitement in her heart. But at this moment, Jianchen actually took the initiative to suggest dissolving the marriage. This made the princess feel extremely disappointed. Although only a very short amount of time had passed and the princess couldn't say she was absolutely smitten with Jianchen, he had at the very least captured her affections. After a long while of silence between the two, the princess finally broke the odd silence with a question, Changyang Shangtian, could you please tell me, why is it that you wish to rescind the marriage? Could it be your heart is already fixated with someone else? Jian Chen shook his head. Princess, you must have heard about what happened to me back then. I was forced to leave my Changyang clan for many years, and despite surviving these harsh conditions, I have made many enemies. They are very strong and are perhaps enemies that I cannot face off against as I stand today. Furthermore, there'll be an even more serious matter in the not-so-distant future. The final results are outside my range of anticipation, but I know that I must dedicate myself to improving my strength so that I will be able to avoid any possible calamity. Thus, I do not wish to waste time having any personal considerations with a woman. Hearing Jian Chen explain his reasoning, the princess let out a breath in relief before smiling at Jian Chen's handsome yet determined face. Changyang Xiangtian, it is no wonder that you were able to reach your current stage in such a short amount of time. Judging by how hard you work at cultivating, you must have suffered a lot these past few years. Hearing her speak those words caused Jian Chen to inwardly sigh. In the past few years, he had truly suffered many hardships and paid heavy prices. Not only had he walked the line between life and death multiple times, he had even truly died at one point. The current achievements he held today were by no means a coincidence. Princess, I hope that you can understand. I do not wish to have a relationship at the moment. I only wish to improve my own strength to be able to deal with the future. Jian Chen replied. He thought about the Shi family and the Jetta clan. Both of these clans had saint rulers within their ranks. They were the people who really frightened Jian Chen. There was also the Yangji sect of the Qiangan kingdom. The patriarch had said something about guardian clans. This had also somewhat concerned Jian Chen. They shouldn't be that major of a faction, but the patriarch's words had caused Jian Chen to infer several things. And so, he started to fear that the guardian clans were far stronger than he had initially thought. Then there was also the matter with the tiger cub. Jian Chen had taken Elder Xiu's words to heart. Perhaps the white tiger cub had already caused a stir within the continent. The Gilligan clan had already been established as an enemy of the white tiger cub and would chase after it until either side dies. With the cub being a heavenly tiger god, the Gilligan clan would be extremely adamant on having it die before it could grow old, since the cub's complete growth would spell destruction for the Gilligan clan. Right now, what made Jian Chen worry the most was that the king of the Gilligan clan would not follow the agreement it had made with the humans and would leave Cross Mountains in order to personally find and kill the tiger cub. This king was a terrifying existence that could easily kill a saint ruler, so Jian Chen didn't dare face against the king of the Gilligan clan by himself without sufficient strength. Hesitating for a moment, the princess spoke. Changyang Xiangtian. That year my father had personally made the proposal. But now that you wish to rescind this marriage, have you thought about the honor of our imperial palace? Seeing Jian Chen grow silent, the princess hesitated for a moment before finally thinking of a solution. After a brief moment, she finally found the right words to speak. How about this? You and I will go to my father and ask that the wedding be postponed for a later date. If we do that, Princess Yu will be. Jian Chen looked a little embarrassed. If they were to do this, it would squander the princess youth. Right now he had only wished to improve his own strength. He had never thought about such a life-changing event like marriage. The princess let out a sigh in relief. After coming to a conclusion like this, her heart still felt a little helpless. If this were several years ago, she would have agreed to Jian Chen's suggestion of canceling the marriage without any hesitation. But now... Ai, princess. I didn't think that I would come across you here. What a coincidence. Suddenly, a cheerful voice could be heard as a smiling youth approached them from far away. His age wasn't all that different from Jian Chen's, and he was also quite handsome himself. However, he had a scholarly look to him that made him look weak, which was a huge contrast to the determined look of Jian Chen. Right behind this youth were two guards around the age of 50 with steady faces and fierce eyes. That's the second prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The princess whispered to Jian Chen. Jian Chen nodded his head slightly as his eyes hovered onto the second prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom before quickly losing interest and looking around at the beautiful and colorful flowers appreciatively. The second prince wore a luxurious robe with a folding fan held in his hand. He approached them with an elegant stride. Without even waiting for a greeting from either of the two, he sat down on the stool by the stone table without sparing Jian Chen a glance. His face held a splendid smile as he spoke to the princess. I never would have imagined that I would be able to come across the princess while on a simple stroll. It would appear that the princess and I, your exalted prince, were brought together by fate. The princess and the second prince exchanged several words of greeting before the second prince finally took notice of Jian Chen. If I am not mistaken, then you must be fourth master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Shangtian. The second prince revealed a faint smile on his face, but his expression was haughty and his words did nothing to hide his arrogance. He even looked at Jian Chen with a look of disdain. That is correct, I am he. Jian Chen spoke emotionlessly. The second smiled before turning to look at the princess. Princess, I wish to speak with Changyang Shangtian in private. For a moment, the princess hesitated before finally standing up from her seat. Then I won't be disturbing you too. Then, she walked out of the pavilion and across the sea of flowers by herself. After the princess left, the smile on the second prince's face disappeared only to be replaced with a threatening stare at Jian Chen. Changyang Shangtian, this prince knows of your engagement with the princess. But the princess is someone I have my eye on already. Each and every single suitor of the princess won't be getting past me, so this prince hopes that you will go to the king and rescind the marriage. Jian Chen gave a mocking look toward the second prince before speaking. It isn't your turn to meddle in my affairs. Furthermore, you do not even have the rights to interfere. Your Majesty, if you don't have anything to say, please excuse yourself. The second prince's face changed color as his eyes began to gain a cold and detached look. Changyang Shangtian, do you understand the words you are saying? Do you truly wish to have me as your enemy? Could it be that you wish for your Changyang clan to be destroyed? It would appear that you know not of the strength of the heavenly eagle kingdom. Jian Chen's mouth revealed a cold smile. With the second prince being so impolite, Jian Chen didn't bother to give any face to the prince. With disdain, he spoke, Your Majesty, do you have the qualifications to even be called my enemy? The Changyang clan is not one you can anger. As for the heavenly eagle kingdom, do you believe that with just a single command, I could have your entire heavenly eagle kingdom disappear overnight? Outrageous. The second prince roared in anger as his hand broke apart the stone table in two. His eyes glared fiercely with killing intent at Jian Chen before yelling, Changyang Shangtian, you know not of the difference between the heavens and the earth. Since you are so willing to walk the path of doom, allow this prince to see you through and through. Knowing that you have now insulted my heavenly eagle kingdom, there will be no one to save you now. Come, apprehend him. We shall bring him back to the heavenly eagle kingdom to see how my father will deal with him. The two bodyguards standing behind the second prince walked forward with dark faces. The cold glints in their gazes carried powerful killing intent. Jian Chen's words just now had caused murderous thoughts to arise in both people. They both stretched a hand toward Jian Chen's shoulders with little concern for him. The corners of Jian Chen's mouth tilted up into a sneer of disdain. His finger lit up, causing azure and violet sword chi to shoot out and head straight toward the two people's outstretched palms. Chapter 457, Ming Dong pays a visit. The two soldiers didn't anticipate that Jian Chen would actually fight back, and the azure and violet sword chi was extremely fast as well. They had no time to dodge at all, so their palms were instantly skewered through with the sword chi, staining the area with blood. The two men instantly looked shocked as the sudden pain in their palms caused them to cry out involuntarily. They couldn't believe what had happened as they looked down at their own hands in surprise. Neither of them had expected the fourth master to be so capable. Although they were shocked, they weren't yet afraid of him. Even after taking the first loss, they didn't have any desire to retreat just yet. A large amount of saint force flowed out from the both of them to form their saint weapons. Grabbing them, they stabbed out at Jian Chen. The instant the two guards formed their saint weapons, the second prince quickly retreated back in fright. He clearly understood their strengths, and he didn't think that the fourth master of the Changyang clan would be able to force them to bring out their saint weapons. This event to him only served to scare him. Still sitting in the stone chair, Jian Chen's eyes showed contempt as he looked at the two guards striking at him. His hand waved gently, causing sword chi to shoot out from his fingers, slamming into the two saint weapons. When the azure and violet sword chi made contact, the two guards shook from the blow as a tremendous energy vibrated through their saint weapons and made their entire right arm go numb. Their arms felt heavy as they tried to hold their saint weapon, and their feet were dragged back away from the pavilion. The second prince looked at the two guards in shock. His expression revealed his astonishment. While he expected Jian Chen to react, he hadn't expected to see such a result like this. His two guards were both Earth Saint Masters, so none of the three had expected any resistance. The sounds of battle had been heard by the princess, who was appreciating the flowers from some distance away. Quickly hurrying on over, her eyes hovered over the broken stone table and asked, "What has happened for a fight to suddenly take place?" Standing up from his chair, Jian Chen walked to the side of the pavilion with his arms by his side. Looking at the second prince, Jian Chen spoke calmly, "Your Highness, you should understand that a loose tongue invites trouble. I hope that you will take notice of what you say. This world is not the world of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom." The second prince's face grew extremely dark as he listened to Jian Chen. "A loose tongue invites trouble, those are smart words. Changyang Xiangtian, this prince will remember those words. The future is long, we will wait and see what happens next." After those words, the second prince and his two guards left the place in a saddened state. Looking at the second prince retreat, Jian Chen had a faint cold smile on his face. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was not something he could bother with. The princess had a complicated stare as she looked at Jian Chen before walking to his side. "Changyang Xiangtian, he is the prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, and this is the imperial palace of the Jessen Kingdom. Would this not attract trouble? There's no need to worry, I know what the appropriate behavior will be. If trouble truly does come, I will bear responsibility." Jian Chen spoke flatly. "That wasn't my intention," the princess tried to explain, but was then interrupted by Jian Chen. "Princess Yu, we should return now." The second prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was without a doubt one of the most heavily watched people within the imperial palace. Not too long after Jian Chen and the princess had left, the news that the second prince had suffered a loss in the flower garden had made its way to the ears of those people with influence. Even Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian, who were chatting with the king, had heard the news along with the other officials and the princes of the imperial palace. Within a splendid and luxuriously decorated palace room, three youths in their 20s sat by each other and were eating merrily. On the table, all sorts of exotic delicacies could be seen. Suddenly, a soldier came running into the room and spoke several words into the ears of two of the youths. Straight away, the two youths had shocked expressions flash over their faces. With a wave of their hand to dismiss the guard, they grew even more serious. "Princes, what has happened?" the other youth asked in confusion. "The guards just sent us news that the fourth master of the Changyang clan has offended the second prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. This isn't good, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom isn't a kingdom we can stand to offend." One of the princes spoke. "What? Changyang Xiangtian?" The third youth spoke in surprise before revealing a happy smile. "Could it be that the fourth master, Changyang Xiangtian, has returned?" "That's correct. Changyang Xiangtian has only just returned, we only just received information of that not too long ago." Seeing Brother Ming Dong's expression, "Could it be that you know him?" the other prince spoke. Ming Dong nodded his head. "I didn't think he would return that quickly, and to the imperial palace no less. Fellow princes, I will be taking my leave first then." With that, Ming Dong quickly left the two princes sitting by the table with looks of surprise and disbelief. "Changyang Xiangtian knows Brother Ming Dong?" a prince muttered in surprise. The second prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom looked furious as he and his bodyguard stormed back into his resting room. As soon as he entered the room, he slammed a palm onto a nearby table, causing the pricey wooden table to split in two. Changyang Shangtian, I will make you regret this. The disgrace you've brought me today, I will definitely return this favor back to you 1,000-fold. The second prince's eyes held a ferocious glare. As a prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, no matter where he went, he had never been so humiliated before. By that time, the Prime Minister had come back with an unhappy face. When he saw the furious look on the second prince, he couldn't help but ask out of curiosity, "Second prince, what has happened to make you so angry?" The men of the Changyang clan are far too unbridled. After saying those words, the second prince recounted his tale of what had transpired in the flower garden. After hearing it, even the Prime Minister's face had grown serious as he spoke. To be able to push back 2 Earth Saint Masters at the age of 20, that sort of talent is terrifying. It is no wonder the Jessen Kingdom's king specifically chose the Changyang clan. It was because of Changyang Shangtian. The second prince turned to look at the Prime Minister. "Prime Minister, could it be that your discussion with the king failed as well?" The Prime Minister nodded his head. "That's correct. The king is adamant on having the princess marry Changyang Shangtian. Even if I were to move the entire Heavenly Eagle Kingdom here, he would not budge an inch. However, the king is in his right to do as he does. If I were him, I would act in the same manner. I never imagined that Changyang Shangtian had such a strength like this. If a talent like this is given time to grow, his future will hold no barriers. It is possible that he may usher the Jessen Kingdom into a golden age." The second prince's eyes flashed with a fierce killing intent before speaking. "He is a threat to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. In the case that the Jessen Kingdom grows strong, they will endanger our kingdom. Changyang Shangtian cannot be left to live." With each word he spoke, his voice grew progressively colder. The Prime Minister nodded. "That's correct, I have the same sentiments as well. With Changyang Shangtian speaking such outrageous words, this gives us an excuse to act. Then I will bring some experts to take down Changyang Shangtian." Unable to wait for even another moment, the second prince began to move. "Wait a moment." The Prime Minister spoke. "Your Highness, this servant has 2 ways to solve this." Then, he began to whisper into the second prince's ear. Jian Shen and the princess returned to the imperial palace where the king and his parents were still chatting to each other. "Ah, my son-in-law, your timing is impeccable. Since you and Yue are no longer young, I believe that it would be a fine time to quickly wed the 2 of you." The king laughed as if he was in a hurry to quickly wed his daughter. Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian both had smiles on their faces as well as clear indications that they stood with the king. Hearing this, Jian Shen hesitated for a moment. "Your Majesty, there is still some matters I need to take care of in the near future. I do not have time to consider a relationship at this moment, so we should postpone this wedding for now." The king narrowed his eyebrows and shared a look with Changyang Ba with an awkward expression. "Father, your daughter also wishes to postpone the marriage for a later date." The princess suddenly spoke with a face that betrayed no emotion at all. Hearing that Jian Shen and the princess both wished to postpone the marriage, the king had no other choice. With a sigh, he replied, "Fine then, since you 2 both wish to postpone it, then we shall postpone it." The king's face could barely hide his disappointment. Now that the 4th master of the Changyang clan had a status far unlike the one before, the king could only go along with him and feared to go against him. "Xiang'er, why are you doing this?" Bai Yuntian had a reproachful look. "Mother, your son still has many things to do. There is no time at the moment for a marriage." Jian Shen had a bitter smile on his face. To the others, he was an imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom with the strength of a heaven saint master. But only he himself knew the extent of his strength. The wedding being postponed indefinitely had caused Changyang Ba, Bai Yuntian, and the king to all feel disappointed. As parents, they had naturally want to see their own child start a family, especially to a person that was superior in their traits. Everyone left soon afterward with Jian Shen and his parents heading to the room allocated for them. It was one of the more expensive palace rooms that was specifically made to receive such guests. At that moment, a guard came running in with a message. A report for the fourth master Changyang Shangtian. There is a man named Ming Dong seeking audience. Chapter 458, Midnight Assassination. At that moment, a guard came running in with a message. A report for the fourth master Changyang Shangtian. There is a man named Ming Dong seeking audience. Hearing Ming Dong's name, Jian Shen was stunned for a moment before a joyous smile overtook his face, and he quickly left the room. Seeing Jian Shen walk out of the palace, the white-robed youth standing outside revealed a smile. This was the Ming Dong that Jian Shen hadn't seen for half a year. Ming Dong had a happy smile as he walked toward Jian Shen and slapped him on the shoulders. "Hey! Jian Shen, you actually did return. I was expecting you to come back later." Jian Shen looked over Ming Dong. There was a noticeable difference from the Ming Dong of half a year ago to the one right now. His aura had calmed down a bit and he no longer looked as impatient as before. "Let's talk inside." Jian Shen laughed as he brought Ming Dong into the palace. This was the special palace allocated to Jian Shen by the king, so there were around 50 black armor soldiers outside. The two sat down in 2 chairs. A maid brought the two some snacks and 2 cups of tea before leaving after being dismissed. "I was just planning on going to find you, but who would have thought that you were hiding away in the palace?" Jian Shen was quite delighted. Ming Dong and him were like good brothers. Now that they had both met once again, they were naturally be happy. "Back when the war had only just finished, I accepted the king's invitation. His kindness is a hard thing to decline, so I stayed within the palace for several days to try out the lifestyle here. This is the very first time I've lived in such a way, so I decided to stay for a little longer." Ming Dong laughed. "Then are you done with such a lifestyle?" Jian Shen laughed. Ming Dong took a bite of a snack and began to chew before speaking vaguely. "I originally planned on staying for a little longer. But now that you're back, wherever you go, then I, Ming Dong, will naturally follow." Suddenly, Ming Dong looked to Jian Shen. Jian Shen, should I call you Changyang Shangtian or Jian Shen?" "Just call me Jian Shen, I rather like that name. The name, Changyang Shangtian, is something only my clan calls me. Outside of that, I am Jian Shen." Jian Shen spoke without hesitation. Ming Dong nodded his head before looking serious. "The assignment you gave me has already been completed. The heaven's stolen fortune has already been given to your father. I know of your circumstances too. When the time comes, don't forget to call for me to help deal with the Huayan sect." Jian Shen laughed. "There's no need. I've already dealt with the Huayan sect." Ming Dong was startled for a moment before he asked in confusion, "Dealt with? How so? Don't tell me that you've forgiven the Huayan sect that easily." Jian Shen and Ming Dong continued to talk through the night. When it came to Ming Dong, Jian Shen did not hide anything. Everything that had happened after the two had split, Jian Shen told him aside from the matter with the tiger cub. It wasn't because he didn't trust Ming Dong, but it was because the fewer people that knew about it, the better. Plus, if he did tell Ming Dong, there was a chance Ming Dong would feel a larger amount of pressure. After listening to Jian Shen speak of what happened, Ming Dong let out a slow breath of air. It was when Jian Shen spoke of the battle with the 8 Heaven Saint Masters that Ming Dong had nearly leaped out of his skin. "I never thought that so many things like that could happen. The Jetta clan and Shi family cannot be allowed to get away with this. Wait until we gain enough strength, we will definitely make those two pay a heavy price. But Jian Shen, this disaster has brought you some profit as well. Although you came across such misfortune, your strength has grown exponentially. You're even a Heaven Saint Master now as well as an Imperial Protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom. I can barely believe it. If I'm not wrong either, you're only 21 years old." It was only when it was late at night that Ming Dong left Jian Shen's place. As an esteemed guest of the Jessen Kingdom, he had his own room. After Ming Dong left, Jian Shen walked into his own room and sat on the bed to meditate. At this time, the tiger cub that had previously been sleeping on the bed, from absorbing the heavenly resources, finally awoke. Refreshed, the tiger cub stood on all four of its limbs and blinked its bright eyes at Jian Chen. Then, its body leaped onto Jian Chen's shoulder and used its shaggy head to rub Jian Chen's face as it let out a purr of content. The cub was able to control the size of its own body, so at the moment, its body was about the size of 1/3 of a meter. This was the equivalent to the size of a small cat, making it look rather cute. Taking the cub into his hands, Jian Chen regarded the strength of the cub with a small smile on his face. In just these past few days, the tiger cub had reached the strength of a Class 3 magical beast. This rate of growth was absolutely terrifying, and if this trend were to continue and he had enough heavenly resources, then it wouldn't even take another year for the cub to become a Class 5 magical beast. It's no wonder that the heavenly tiger god was a being only seen in the ancient past. This rate of growth is far too quick. Jian Chen sighed with admiration. Taking out several roots of 1,000-year heavenly resources from his space ring, Jian Chen spoke, "Continue to work hard and improve your strength. That way, you will be able to defend yourself." There was an undeniable allure from the heavenly resources to the small cub. Upon seeing the 1,000-year heavenly resources in Jian Chen's hands, the tiger cub's eyes began to sparkle before it quickly wolfed them down. Once it had ate its fill, with a content glint in its eyes, it curled up on Jian Chen's bed before falling asleep to absorb the resources. Seeing the sleeping tiger cub, a look of worry crossed Jian Chen's face. As time goes on, the amount of heavenly resources will be larger, and the amount of time needed to absorb them will increase as well. I don't know how much longer the heavenly resources I have on hand will last me. I will have to think of a solution soon. Afterward, Jian Chen slowly closed his eyes as he brought out 2 Class 5 monster cores. Without any ruler armaments, Jian Chen could only rely on the energy within the monster cores to convert to chaotic force. Jian Chen knew that the chaotic force was extremely strong, and despite it having no use at the current moment, there would be a day in the future where he would be able to use it after establishing a foundation for it. This foundation was his body. If he could strengthen his body, he would be able to withstand the chaotic force coursing through it. So right now, he needed enough chaotic force to strengthen his body. When he could make use of the chaotic force, Jian Chen was confident that his strength would make another large leap in quality. After half the night, when the entire palace was a fearful calm, a squadron of black armor soldiers continued to patrol. They made their way around the imperial palace, moving in every direction in an attempt to protect the peace. Suddenly, a single figure hidden in the night came flashing forward, headed toward Jian Chen's palace without a single sound. The darkness of the night protected his body from detection, as if he had become one with the darkness. Even if someone were to get close to him, they would be hard-pressed to know that he was there. This mysterious figure easily dodged the outermost black armor soldiers protecting the palace and slipped inside. Like the outside, the inner palace was dark without any lighting. The surrounding darkness bore no effect on the figure, allowing him to see everything clearly. Looking around himself, the figure silently entered Jian Chen's room, where he saw Jian Chen sitting on his bed meditating. Inching closer to Jian Chen until he was within 10 meters, the figure took out a jade bottle and gently uncorked it, causing a faint gas to float toward Jian Chen. Waiting for the gas to fully assimilate into the room, he put away the bottle and replaced it with a black dagger. With a black stream of light, the dagger in his hand instantly shot toward Jian Chen's throat. Suddenly, an azure and violet glow of light flashed in the room before the crisp sound of metal hitting metal could be heard. The forward momentum of the dark figure came to a grinding halt before his leg staggered back several steps. With each step he made, the clear, distinct sounds of footsteps could be heard. How uncommon, to think that I would come across someone with the dark attributed Saint Force. A gentle voice could be heard within the dark room. As if the darkness hadn't affected his vision either, Jian Chen opened his eyes from his meditative state, and stared straight at the figure hiding in the darkness. You're not affected? How can that be?" The hidden assailant cried out in shock. Jian Chen laughed, "Your poison was far too weak and had no effect on me." The figure knew that his assassination attempt had failed and he had even been discovered. This was a battle that he could not win. Without hesitation, the figure flashed away in a streak of dark light toward the outside without a sound. Dark-attributed cultivators were nicknamed the kings of the night. The night time was their domain. They could hide their auras perfectly within the darkness as if they were one with the night, making it hard for anyone to detect them. Did you think running would be that easy? Jian Shen laughed as he clutched at the air with his hand, causing the previously dark room to be illuminated. In an instant, a fire-red sword materialized in the room. The room was lit up from the light of a red flame that startled the guards on the outside. Whoosh! With a wave of his hand, the fire sword quickly shot away, like an arrow, from the room and ultimately toward the dark figure. Bang! A fierce explosion could be heard as the light from the fire spread throughout the sky, alerting the entire palace. The assailant was engulfed by the flames with a scream, revealing his position. His clothes had been set aflame, and although he had managed to escape the fire, he had suffered serious injuries. An assassin. There's an assassin. The previously quiet palace quickly turned lively as many black armor soldiers came running toward the source with torches. Many figures flashed across the rooftops as the higher-skilled figures charged toward the flames at a rapid pace. Upon seeing his position was revealed, the assailant had no wish to remain here any longer. He tried to climb into the darkness to escape despite his wounds. At that moment, an azure and violet flash of light could be seen flying at an extremely fast pace, blocking the man from escaping. Chapter 459, One After Another. How outrageous, to dare try to assassinate the brother of Ming Dong, you truly don't wish to live. Ming Dong's face was dark as his eyes revealed a ferocious killing intent. He lashed out with a gust of wind attributed Saint force directed at the head of the assailant. Bang! Following the muffled sounds of contact, the assassin's head had blood fly out from where he was hit. Ming Dong had cracked his skull, causing a part of it to dent in a little bit. Without another sound, the assassin fainted. All of the Earth Saint Masters within the palace had finally arrived by the assassin's side. Each one held a single torch to illuminate the night and peered down to look at the assassin's face. The assassin's clothes had already disintegrated into ashes so that he was almost naked. Even his hair had been burned away and his skin was a darkened hue. His face had been disfigured, and with the injury given to him by Ming Dong, his appearance was already far too long gone to know who he was. Quickly, 100 black armor soldiers came rushing forward with even more black armor soldiers starting to congregate from all over into the area. What has happened just now? A deep voice called out from behind as the king came striding forward in his sleeping clothes along with several bodyguards. Your Majesty, an assassin infiltrated the palace in an attempt to assassinate the fourth master of the Changyang clan. But he was apprehended in the end. A black armor soldier reported to the king in a low whisper. Hearing this, the king had a dark expression. Arrest the assassin and throw him into the prisons. Interrogate him until we find out just who he is. Yes. Immediately, several soldiers took the fainted assassin and bound him up. Afterward, 2 Earth Saint Masters personally took the assassin away from the area. By this point, Jian Shen had arrived as well with both hands behind his back as he strolled toward everyone with a calm expression. Walking to Jian Shen's side, Ming Dong asked, Jian Shen, are you all right? Shaking his head, Jian Shen responded, I'm fine, he didn't touch me. With concern, the king arrived by Jian Shen's side as well, son-in-law, are you unharmed? That assassin didn't harm you, I hope. You needn't worry. This king will do his best to investigate this matter. With Jian Shen's newfound status supporting the Jessen kingdom, the king's personality to him had changed to be even more respectful. Jian Shen hesitated for a moment before nodding his head. Then I'll be troubling you. News of a mysterious assassin infiltrating the palace had caused ripples through the palace. Not only was the king surprised, but even the imperial palace's Heaven Saint Master Yi Ming had been startled before coming in person. The appearance of an assassin was no small matter, and his target was a particularly special person. However, as a suggestion of Jian Chen's, the matter was quickly brought to rest. Not too long later, the palace had grown silent once more. But now, even more black armors could be seen patrolling the palace during the night. And right outside Jian Chen's palace, the amount of soldiers had quadrupled in number, leaving 200 black armors standing around. Although the king knew that this served as decorative purposes only, it was the least he could do on the surface. Jian Chen returned to his room and sat back down on the bed once more. Both of his eyes had a glint that radiated with a cold killing intent. The night quickly passed, but in the morning, the loud sounds of clamor could be heard outside. Several black armor soldiers stood right outside the palace gates in a single line with stone expressions. They radiated a fierce spirit ready to kill. The head soldier spoke in a polite voice, "Your Highness the Second Prince and honored Prime Minister, this is the imperial palace of the fourth master of the Changyang clan. Without his permission, you cannot go inside." Opposite of them, a dozen soldiers dressed in a similar fashion from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Leading that group at the front was the second prince and the prime minister. Changyang Xiangtian has insulted our Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, and even more serious, he has treaded upon the honor of our kingdom. You will stand aside now. If not, then do not blame us for being rude. The second prince spoke harshly with an imposing amount of power. Although this was the imperial palace of the Jessen Kingdom, none of the people from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom saw the kingdom as a threat in any way. Your Highness, no matter what the reason is, you cannot go in. Unless you have received the permission of the fourth master, we cannot let you in. The soldier spoke without backing down. A tiny soldier is actually blocking the path of a prince? How preposterous is that? The prince grew furious and waved a hand, "Charge in. If there's anyone that obstructs your way, give them no mercy." Yes. The group from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom shouted as they waved their saint weapons. Although they had only 40 people, each one of them were Earth Saint Masters. Even at the peak of the Jessen Kingdom, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's strength was many times stronger than them and could easily dispatch multiple Earth Saint Masters. In contrast, out of the 200 black armors, only 5 of them were Earth Saint Masters. The rest were Great Saint Masters in majority. Thus, the difference between the two kingdoms' strengths was as clear to see as night and day. Despite this, however, the black armors refused to show any weakness and brought out their saint weapons. "Stay your hand." A sudden voice called out as Jian Chen came walking out from his palace out of the blue. On his face, a dark expression could be seen as he took notice of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Changyang Xiangtian, I had thought that you would at least try to hide, but you actually came out. The second prince's eyes were like fire as they burned with the humiliation that was etched in his memory. One step at a time, Jian Chen walked out from the palace and toward the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's group with cold eyes. Explain your reason for coming today. Changyang Xiangtian, you insulted my Heavenly Eagle Kingdom yesterday and stomped upon my kingdom's honor. If you have any sense left, then sit still and let yourself be captured so we can bring you back to our kingdom to await the king's punishment. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the responsibility if you don't. The second prince spoke arrogantly. This time he had been prepared and brought multiple experts, so he wasn't afraid of Jian Chen. Jian Chen's face had a cold smile on it as he looked at them with disdain. Second prince, if you leave now, then I'll let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, I will offer you the same advice, you will have to bear the responsibility of your actions. The second prince's eyes flashed fiercely, you seek death, arrest him. As soon as the second prince spoke, the Earth Saint Masters had charged straight at Jian Chen. Obstruct them. The leader of the black armors shouted. 5 of their Earth Saint Masters immediately flew forward to stop the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Jian Chen gave a small snort before pointing a finger. Several rays of azure and violet sword chi flew out from his fingertips and instantly shot towards several of the Earth Saint Masters from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's Earth Saint Masters were just about to fight the black armors. Therefore, they hadn't paid any attention to Jian Chen. In the next moment, the sword Qi pierced a hole straight through their chests. The experts of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom let out grunts as they retreated backward. They revealed looks of astonishment as they looked at Jian Chen behind the black armors. Changyang Xiangtian, do you truly wish to make the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom your enemy? You don't know the extent of our Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The Prime Minister spoke seriously. Jian Chen had beaten his expectations by large margin. And what does the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom matter? 2 envoys from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, do you believe that you will be able to walk away from the Jesson Kingdom's palace today? As soon as the Prime Minister spoke, another aggressive-sounding voice could be heard from behind. At this voice, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom experts turned around with an incredibly furious expression. A single white-robed youth around the age of 28 came walking forward. The previous words were clearly spoken by him. Chapter 460, You and What Army? The second prince let out an angry smile. Good. Very well then, it seems that the Jesson Kingdom truly wishes to make the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom our enemy. Youngster, it matters not who you are. Today this prince will ensure that you do not leave this place alive. You and what army? The youth's face had a look of disdain on it. Such a look of disdain caused the second prince to burst into a furious storm. If it weren't for the fact that he had no idea who this youth was, he would have long since ordered his soldiers to attack. Sire, who are you? Do you know that your words may be giving trouble to the Jesson Kingdom? The Prime Minister spoke with a dark expression. The youth laughed. This one is named Ming Dong. I am not from the Jesson Kingdom, so don't even bother linking me with them. Changyang Xiangtian is my sworn brother. If you truly dare to seek trouble with my brother, you will first have to go through me. Very well. Then allow us to see what sort of power you have to act so savagely. The second prince looked angrily at Ming Dong with a furious look. Go and capture him. 3 more experts from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom charged toward Ming Dong with bright but cold eyes. Their saint weapons rippled with a large amount of energy as they surrounded and struck at Ming Dong without mercy. With a little snort, Ming Dong's eyes flashed with a cold light as his saint force condensed in his right hand. In the next moment, a cyan-colored long sword materialized in his hand before striking out 3 times to meet the 3 saint weapons of his enemies. Following the metallic clang from the clash, the 3 Earth Saint Masters from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdoms paled in the face. Although the youth in front of them was quite young, his strength was no less than theirs. The cyan-colored sword had contained a stronger amount of saint force than their own weapons, and he was far more of a match for them. With this single collision, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's experts had been forced back several steps with startled expressions as they looked at Ming Dong. A 6th cycle Earth Saint Master, you've reached such a level? One of the Earth Saint Masters cried out in shock as disbelief filled his face. They themselves were geniuses with talent, but it was only after making use of a large amount of resources and dozens years of hard work that they were able to make it to the realm they were in now. But now, there was a youth that was no older than 30 years with a strength far beyond their own. This to them was a huge shock. What, he's a 6th cycle Earth Saint Master? The second prince was startled as well. Looking at Ming Dong's young face, his heart felt disbelief. However, his face darkened for a moment before speaking. It matters not if he's a 6th cycle Earth Saint Master. Have some of you go capture him for daring to speak such arrogant words to your prince. This cannot be forgiven, otherwise, where would the honor of our Heavenly Eagle Kingdom go? Yes. At the prince's command, another 6 Earth Saint Masters came forward to strike at Ming Dong. His Majesty the King has arrived. Suddenly, a single large cry could be heard as the king and several black armor soldiers could be seen walking by his side in a hurry. The king wore a long white robe with his hair somewhat disheveled. Clearly, he had been in a rush to come over. Changyang Ba and Bayun Tian were right behind him. The king cast an eye down at the spectacle before him before looking to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom with a dark look. Second prince, what is the meaning of this? There was an angry look to the king's eyes as his attitude toward the heavenly eagle kingdom dropped several degrees in temperature. Your Majesty, Changyang Shangtian and Ming Dong are far too impudent and have offended my heavenly eagle kingdom. This prince wishes to take these two back home to await my father's punishment. Each and every man that dares to offend my heavenly eagle kingdom cannot be forgiven. This is a matter that you should stay out of. The second prince spoke coldly as if to look down on the king. Second prince, you will take your men and leave this place at once. If you continue to make trouble, then your heavenly eagle kingdom will not be able to handle the consequences. The second prince snorted, Your Majesty, could it be that you wish to get in the way of my heavenly eagle kingdom? Second prince, this is the imperial palace of the Jessen kingdom. This is not your heavenly eagle kingdom. The king was furious now. Now that the Jessen kingdom had the rapport of the Qinhuang kingdom, he no longer feared the heavenly eagle kingdom. Furthermore, the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom was his future son-in-law. This connection between them was nearly as tight as iron. And if we continue to persist on this matter? The Prime Minister asked. If you continue to persist on making trouble within the imperial palace, then do not expect I, Yi Ming, to be sensitive to your feelings. A sound came from the sky as the white-robed figure of Yi Ming came flying in, landing right beside the king. Prime Minister Che let out a snort. It appears that the Jessen kingdom truly desires to see our heavenly eagle kingdom as an enemy. Fine then, Senior Georgian, we will be troubling you to make the first move. At the Prime Minister's words, a single 50-year-old man came forward from the group. The man was rather ordinary looking without any single outstanding detail to him. A figure like him would be easily looked over. I didn't think that your envoy group would have a heaven saint master. I, Yi Ming, have made an error in judgment. Yi Ming laughed with eyes that revealed some astonished. The Prime Minister and the second prince were practically oozing with confidence, leading the Prime Minister to say, a prince of our heavenly eagle kingdom came from far away. If there was no heaven saint master as his bodyguard, the king would never be satisfied. That much is true. Yi Ming nodded in agreement. However, you only have one heaven saint master, that does not change much. Georgian stepped forward with an earth-shattering amount of power flowing out from his body. It appears that your Jessen kingdom is dead set on making our heavenly eagle kingdom your enemy. Changyang Shangtian and Ming Dong are two characters that we will definitely bring back. If you continue to intervene, then our two kingdoms will meet again with swords and shields. At this moment, Jianchen spoke, Senior Yi Ming, since they are so determined to take me, then let them take me. I will settle this matter myself, you needn't join in. Jianchen spoke with a calm expression, but his eye toward the heavenly eagle kingdom was full of discontentment. Yi Ming and the king both looked at each other for a moment before the king spoke, all right, since that is what my son-in-law wishes for, then this king dares not disagree. Jianchen, this group of men is too impudent. We have to teach him a lesson, I'll cheer you on. Ming Dong spoke. He knew just how strong Jianchen was in his heart. Jianchen nodded his head with a smile. Facing the heavenly eagle kingdom, he spoke, since your group wishes to take me back, hurry up and make your move. I don't have that much time to squander with you. You rampant brat. Georgian's face grew dark. He knew that Jianchen was quite strong himself, but he made the first move anyway. Transforming into a blur of light, his right hand rippled with saint force before attempting to slam it into Jianchen's throat. Jianchen's right hand made a fist and brought a large amount of the fire element in the world around it. Without any hesitation, he brought it against Georgian's own hand. As the two sides met, a large amount of energy flowed in every direction, causing dirt and sand to fly everywhere, throwing up a dust storm that covered the entire place. After the strike, Georgian's body was sent flying back. With a startled look at Jianchen, he exclaimed, that was the energy of the world. If you can control the energy of the world, you've already stepped into the realm of the Heaven Saint Masters. At this remark, those who had not known about Jianchen's strength let out looks of extreme disbelief. Even the normally stone-faced black armor soldiers were shocked. What? A Heaven Saint Master? Changyang Shangtian is a heaven saint master? No, that can't be. That can't be possible. The second prince grew pale instantly as shock registered on his face. Even the prime minister had a nasty look on his face. It is quite unfortunate that you found out too late. Jian Chen spoke coldly. A bright glow of azure and violet light could be seen as Jian Chen brought the origin energy of the sword spirits toward Georgian. Knowing that he was now fighting a man of equal ranking as him, Georgian could hold back no longer. Immediately bringing out his saint weapon, he slashed at Jian Chen as well. Ding! Georgian simply had no idea how strong the origin energy of the sword spirits were. At the moment of impact, between the saint weapon and origin energy, a large metallic sound could be heard before a decent-sized hole appeared on Georgian's saint weapon. PFT. Georgian sprayed out a mouthful of blood as his face instantly grew pale. At the same time, he looked down at his saint weapon with a look of shock. How is this possible? You damaged my saint weapon. Georgian cried out in shock. Fear flooded his body in waves and completely unsettled him. Jian Chen gave Georgian no breathing room and immediately brought the origin energy together in a resplendent light that shot toward Georgian a second time. After taking a loss the first time, Georgian was now afraid of the azure and violet sword spirits. Fearing a second clash, he immediately dodged the blow. Jian Chen hadn't stopped to rest after the miss. Making use of the origin energy, he considered it to be the same as his old light wind sword. Despite not having any saint force inside his body to support himself or maintain a high speed, with the wind element aiding him, Jian Chen's speed was not too slow either. Georgian had only just dodged the third blow by a narrow margin, but before he could stabilize himself, Jian Chen's fourth sword strike had already come down on him. Forcing Georgian in a situation where he couldn't dodge, he could only use his saint weapon to block it. As the two weapons clashed, Georgian's saint weapon gained a new nick as it took damage once more. This caused his body to be injured as well. Blasted, what power is this? How could you be that strong? Georgian was astounded. Against such a powerful strike, he hadn't even been able to dodge. In the end, he was dominated without even being able to use his full strength. With these serious injuries, Georgian's strength had taken a huge dip. In the end, after being hit by another blast of Jian Chen's fist, encased in the fire element, to his chest, Georgian flew back with a mouthful of blood flying out. Chapter 461, a name that spreads everywhere under the eyes of everyone. Georgian was defeated by Jian Chen. He flew through the air, tumbling 20 meters away to the ground. Even after he had stopped rolling, blood could be seen pouring from his pale mouth. At this stunning sight, everyone from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was astonished. The previously confident second prince and Prime Minister Che turned pale, and the second prince started to shiver and shake with fear. When they planned on causing trouble within the imperial palace of the Jessen Kingdom, they were relying heavily upon Georgian as a heaven saint master. Georgian had been dealt serious injuries in several moves, indicating the difference between their strengths. Now that Georgian was powerless to defend himself, how would he be able to defend the second prince? The entire group of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom now had nasty looks on their faces. Each one stood by the second prince and prime minister with dignified stances as if prepared to defend them from the Jessen Kingdom. Jian Chen had been able to defeat a heaven saint master in such a short amount of time. This had shocked everyone to the point of causing them to be speechless. He was so young, but he was already a heaven saint master with a strength that was absolutely mind-blowing. Furthermore, the strength he wielded was not just an ordinary amount of strength. A battle between heaven saint masters was usually filled with an enormous amount of energy. Victory would not be so easily determined in such a short amount of time, but Jian Chen had managed to inflict 2 severe wounds on a heaven saint master within a brief 2 breaths worth of time. A strength this strong was far too shocking for anyone. Georgian coughed up violently enough for 2 people before slowly bringing himself up from the ground. Terrified, he looked at the young Jian Chen in front of him. He could hardly believe that Jian Chen was just a barely 20 years old youth. With such a strength like this, along with a mysterious power that could destroy saint weapons, Georgian's heart was filled with terror. Jian Chen would hold the advantage, even in a battle against a heaven saint master, because he wielded this power. At the very least, he would be able to easily kill a heaven saint master. After all, in a battle between two people, a clash of weapons was unavoidable. Since saint weapons were linked to their owner's life, if their saint weapon was damaged, the owner would be severely damaged as well. Since Georgian was using his sword to support himself off the ground, the two jagged chips on his sword were clear to see. Just what is this power of yours? To be able to so easily damage my saint weapon? Georgian looked at Jian Chen seriously. Although he tried to force himself to look calm, his words had already betrayed a hint of a stammer. That power of Jian Chen's completely terrified Georgian. Jian Chen recollected the origin energy back into his own body and wrapped his hands against his chest. I see no need to tell you that. Men of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, were you not quarreling earlier about capturing me? Have everyone come forth, Changyang Shangtian will receive you. The experts from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom all looked at each other. They were caught in a situation where they could neither advance nor retreat. Now that they knew Jian Chen's strength, they had already lost the previous arrogance they had. Even the second prince and prime minister had fallen silent. Their enemy had easily defeated a heaven saint master, so even if all the earth saint masters were to charge at him, they would only be charging toward their deaths. A heaven saint master and an earth saint master were on completely separate worlds in strength. One traveled the heavens, the other traveled the earth. The difference between the two sides could not be argued about. Georgian took in a deep breath. His expression began to grow dejected as he reclaimed his saint weapon. I had no idea that the Jessen Kingdom would have such a blessed genius. Changyang Shangtian, you are strong and there is no doubt that I am not a match for you. As a representative of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, I wish to apologize for the rude display from before. Without waiting for a response from Jian Chen, Georgian began to lead the entire group away. Halt, where are you going? Ming Dong's figure suddenly appeared in the way of the group and laughed. Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, did you really think that my brother and I would be that easy to bully without consequence? You were just going on about capturing the two of us to bring back to your shitty highness as if we were beneath your notice. But now that you know you are no match, you decide to slip away. How easy do you think that'll be? Georgian's face darkened as a hint of anger flashed across his face. Then what are you thinking of? He growled. Your entire group will remain here. Do not even think about leaving the Jessen Kingdom's imperial palace. Ming Dong spoke coldly with an earnest look. At this, everyone from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom blanched for a moment before the Prime Minister spoke. Then do you plan to completely imprison everyone here, or do you wish to kill us all? Even the tiny Heavenly Eagle Kingdom can be so savage. Ming Dong snorted before looking to Jian Chen. Brother, how do you propose we deal with them? Last night's events cannot be so easily forgiven. Although the assassin from yesterday night had been captured, his mouth was sealed tight and so the Jessen Kingdom were unable to figure out his true identity or affiliations. To anyone with a sharp mind, there was a mutual understanding of the truth. Jian Chen thought for a moment before waving his hand. Ming Dong, let them go. Jian Chen, don't tell me you'll let them walk away that easily. Ming Dong had an unwilling look on his face. Let them go, that is what I plan to do. Jian Chen spoke. With Jian Chen so resolute on his decision, even Ming Dong had no alternative. Stamping past the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, he spoke. You better hope that your paths will not cross with me in the future. Otherwise, you will not get off easily. With that, Ming Dong allowed them to pass and stood by Jian Chen's side. The entire group from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom let out a sigh in relief. Without any hesitation, they quickly left the area. They no longer had any face to stay within the Jessen Kingdom. When the envoy left the palace, they immediately left for the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Jian Chen, why did you let them go? Ming Dong asked the question that was weighing on his mind. The Jessen kingdom has only just experienced a war and is greatly injured. We cannot bear to make the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom our enemy. Jian Chen said. What are you afraid of? Don't forget your current status. Are you afraid of a tiny kingdom like the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom? Jian Chen shook his head. Although the power of the Qinhuang Kingdom is tremendous, so is the distance from there to here. Having the army dispatched here is far too unrealistic, and since the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom is so close to the Jessen Kingdom, with their power, it is best to not be caught in a deadlock with them. Although I am not afraid, the Jessen Kingdom cannot be thrown into this. So you were thinking about the well-being of the Jessen Kingdom. Ming Dong felt relieved. He had always been alone and thus had always looked out only for himself, no matter what. Very rarely did he ever consider the consequences of his own actions, so he had not initially understood why Jian Chen had gone through such troubles. The king had reached Jian Chen's side and begun to speak several words of concern to him. His attitude was that of a father who cared for his son. Speaking kindly, the king already saw Jian Chen as his son-in-law. The disturbance of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had quickly died back down, but Jian Chen's strength had been revealed. News of his strength spread through the imperial palace and had made him a revolutionary figure from within. At the same time, Jian Chen and the princess marriage had been circulated as well for everyone to know. Although the engagement had been confirmed several years ago, it had not been announced until now. Only the two sides and the Huayun sect knew of the engagement before, making the marriage a secret within the palace. After the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's envoys had left, the king invited Jian Chen and his family back into the palace to have a discussion in private. Not too long after, an imperial decree was given that shocked the entirety of the Jessen Kingdom. Changyang Shangtian, the fourth master of the Changyang clan, would now hold the title of an imperial protector of the Jessen Kingdom with an authority that was not below the king himself. At the same time, the king announced Changyang Shangtian's marriage to the princess, letting everyone in the entire kingdom know about the affair. After this series of events had happened, the previously low-profile Changyang clan in Lore City became one of the most heavily watched clans within the entire Jessen Kingdom. Their reputation had grown to the point where everyone knew about them and could no longer be as low-profile as they were before. Furthermore, Changyang Shangtian became a person of interest to everyone in the kingdom. Every single deed or achievement he had accomplished before was investigated by the masses, and they gradually learned even more things about him. The strength Jian Chen revealed at the imperial palace hadn't been kept secret. Instead, the king had secretly spread news of it. Quickly, the news of a 21-year-old Heaven Saint Master spread throughout the kingdom for everyone to know. However, this piece of information had led to everyone turning their nose up in disbelief of the news. A 21-year-old Heaven Saint Master? That was far too ridiculous. In a luxurious tavern in Lore City, a brightly red-dressed Dugu Feng sat by himself and drank a cup of wine. Everyone had been talking about the matter with Jian Chen, but Dugu Feng had cared not for this and turned his nose up, unconvinced. Suddenly, a random conversation at a nearby table caught Dugu Feng's attention. This Changyang clan is one of the 4 great clans in our Lore City, aren't they? The matters regarding their fourth master, Changyang Shangtian, are things I know about. I've heard that even when he was young, he was a genius among geniuses. In Kargath Academy, he defeated a middle great saint and several other saints working together as a primary saint. How amazing is that? However, he had offended the Huayun sect and mysteriously disappeared after that without a single trace. It was only in these past 2 days that he suddenly reappeared. Dugu Feng slowly put down the wine cup in his hand as his eyebrows knit together in thought. He was also from Lore City. Could it be him? Could it be that when he went to the Holy Lands, he managed to make the breakthrough to become a Heaven Saint Master? Chapter 462, Illusion Array, 1. After listening to Jian Chen's suggestion, the tidbit that indicated that Jian Chen was the imperial protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom was not revealed. So when he became an imperial protector for the Jessen Kingdom, several dukes and chancellors contested it, but their voices were tiny. With the king having the support of both Yiming and Kafir, the opposition was quickly suppressed, which gave way to Jian Shen becoming an imperial protector for the Jessen kingdom. In fact, he was now the only imperial protector the Jessen kingdom had. The coronation ceremony for Jian Shen becoming an imperial protector was packed with people. Practically anyone that was anybody in the Jessen kingdom showed up. Not only did the 3 other major clans from Lor City send their representatives to show their support, but even many people from faraway cities came to participate. This event caused the name of the Changyang clan to skyrocket. They completely overshadowed even the Huayun sect's power to the point where they had replaced them as the authority figure. At this, Changyang Ba didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There was a helpless look on his face knowing that the Changyang clan could no longer be as low profile as before. Once the coronation ceremony had finished, Jian Shen and his family left the imperial palace shortly after. On the second day, they left the palace and were accompanied by 500 black armors back to Lor City. Ming Dong followed Jian Shen away from the imperial palace. Within the troops, there was a single white-dressed beauty that was very easy to see. Situated among the black armors, she was like a beautiful flower that was blossoming in a magnificent manner that was both eye-catching and dazzling. The princess of the Jessen kingdom had begged to leave the imperial palace in order to temporarily live with the Changyang clan under the guise of wishing to nurture and cultivate their relationship. Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian had both heartily agreed to her request, since this was what the both of them had been hoping for. With their agreement, even Jian Shen was helpless to disagree. The entire family traveled on merrily with laughter as they comforted each other with happy words. Because of the pace, they arrived back at Lor City by the afternoon of the second day. Lor City had long since received information that they were approaching, and had a giant party ready to receive them at the gates with respectful smiles and polite attitudes. After the welcoming, Jian Shen and his group returned to the Changyang manor with the 500 black armors declining to stay any longer. Once they were done with their meal, they immediately started their trek back to the imperial palace. The Changyang clan was decorated with bright lights and colored banners to symbolize the happy state of the manor. Jian Shen had just stepped across the gates to the clan when he realized that there was a difference from the Changyang clan from before. The patrolling soldiers around the clan and even the clan's servants displayed prideful expressions on their faces. Their heads were also held high in a dignified fashion. Clan leader, fourth lady, Xiangtian, you've finally arrived back home. Among the higher-ranking elders waiting for them, a familiar-looking face immediately called out to the returnees when they came into sight. I never would have imagined that my Changyang clan would have such a talented offspring. This is truly a boon for my Changyang clan. An elderly voice could be heard from behind only to reveal the elder that guarded the library. His face revealed a gentle smile that did nothing to hide his prideful and gratified expression. Xianger, this is your grandfather, come pay your respects. Changyang Ba quickly spoke to Jian Shen in a low, serious voice. Hearing this, Jian Shen immediately went to salute him. I pay my respects to grandfather. The grandfather laughed before looking over Jian Shen for a moment. Nodding in approval, he spoke, neither arrogant nor hot-tempered, good. Truly a dragon among men, and despite your age, you have already a dignified heir to you. Jian Shen's family members exchanged several words of greeting with the higher echelons of the clan before heading off to rest. On the way back to his own room, every single guard that saw Jian Shen immediately gave him a respectful salute. Each one looked at him with an eye of adoration while several others showed a tint of jealousy. Suddenly, outside the gates of the Changyang clan, a richly dressed 28-year-old youth in red, with hair of the same color could be seen. His complexion was firm and his aura unordinary, making anyone that saw him know he was no ordinary person. The youth had been immediately blockaded by the guards at the gate. One of the gatekeepers immediately called out, "Halt, this is the Changyang clan. Without an invitation, no one can enter." The youth paused right in front of the gate and spoke calmly, "I am looking for Changyang Xiangtian." Impudence. Are you one that can call the fourth master by his name? The two gatekeepers immediately grew solemn as they looked at the newcomer with unfriendly looks. Because of the fact that Jian Shen had elevated the Changyang clan into a position of power among the Jessan kingdom, the guards felt as if everyone were beneath them now. The youth was not angry and continued to speak calmly. I am called Du Gufeng. Go and report to Changyang Shangtian. If he knows me, he will naturally come out. Hearing this, the two gatekeepers gave each other a mutual look as if to send a message before calming down momentarily. One of the guards spoke, please wait here, I will report to the fourth master. Quickly, Jian Shen and Ming Dong who were chatting to each other heard about Du Gufeng being here. With a happy look, Ming Dong and Jian Shen immediately walked for the giant gate. Seeing Jian Shen's rushed manner, the guard that came forward to alert him was startled. He thought back to the way he had treated Du Gufeng and immediately grew afraid that Jian Shen would take his anger out on him, causing him to grow extremely anxious. He knew now that the Changyang clan was a major power, but the one who held the power wasn't the clan leader. Instead, it was the fourth master Changyang Shangtian. His words were worth far more. Jian Shen arrived at the front of the gates where he saw Du Gufeng, someone he had split paths with half a year ago. Right now, Du Gufeng was still the same as he was before. There was no change to his appearance, and there was still a cold and detached look to him. I don't see the wrong person, it really is you. Jian Shen laughed. Seeing that the fourth master of the Changyang clan was the one he had been looking for, Du Gufeng couldn't help but break out into a smile. So you were originally called Changyang Shangtian. It's no wonder I wasn't able to find you for so long in Lore City. Laughing, Jian Shen didn't bother to explain at that moment and replied, come in, we'll talk inside. Afterward, the two guardsmen let out a breath in relief and joy the moment they had disappeared. Jian Shen had taken Du Gufeng into the clan compound. I didn't think that he would actually be the friend of the fourth master. It is a good thing we didn't offend him, otherwise, it would be foolish of us to think we could remain in the Changyang clan. One of the guards spoke with some lingering fear while the other guard nodded in agreement. Jian Shen took Du Gufeng into his own room and began to talk with him. From Du Gufeng's own mouth, Jian Shen had already known that Du Gufeng had left the Duge clan. From that moment on, he was no longer affiliated with the Duge clan, and whatever he did now would not affect the Duge clan in any way. The manner in which Du Gufeng had conducted himself gave rise to Jian Shen having respect for him. In his heart, he had already thought of Du Gufeng as someone worthy of respect. Although neither person had known the other for long, Jian Shen knew that he could trust him. Ah, Jian Shen, don't you have the mercenary group? Have Du Gufeng enter it, our strength will increase once more with him. Ming Dong suddenly suggested. I had that idea as well. Jian Shen smiled before his eyebrows knit together. I don't know when Signorin and Yunzheng will arrive. It's simple, Jian Shen. Didn't you give an address to Signorin and Yunzheng? All you have to do is notify the city lord and have them ask everyone that enters. This way, when Yunzheng and Signorin arrive, we'll be notified, and if they haven't come, we won't waste any time. Ming Dong proposed. Jian Shen's eyes lit up, and, that is a good proposal. Shall you, call housekeeper Sid over. Afterward, Jian Shen told housekeeper Sid to go to the city lord and instruct him to do as commanded. Sid immediately ran for the city lord's mansion with great speed and relayed the instructions word for the city lord to hear. When the lord of Lore City heard of the command that came from the fourth master Changyang Shangtian himself, he immediately grew serious. Without any hesitation, he went off to make the arrangements himself. After several days, Jian Shen had finally finished all the matters from the Jessan kingdom as well as his own home. For now, he could relax. Late at night, Jian Shen sat on his bed and took out a map from his space ring. It's about time to investigate that Saint Ruler's cave. I hope it does not disappoint and has a ruler's armament, Saint Ruler's skeleton, or anything else that could help me cultivate my chaotic force. When I am able to use my chaotic force, my strength will surely reach a new realm. Ah, I cannot wait. On the morning of the second day, Jianchen told Mingdong, De Gufeng, and his parents that he would be leaving. He then flew through the air toward the cave of the Saint Ruler, indicated on the map. The cave of the Saint Ruler was situated 50,000 kilometers southwest of the Qiangan Kingdom in a mountain range. It was only 11,000 kilometers away from his Changyang clan. It would take 2 or 3 days to arrive if Jianchen were to travel without rest. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.